Let's roll, rolling at the start. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas up. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling atlas thugs, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.
What is good?
Muted again. Back to my old ways. What's going on? What's going on, man? Well, yeah, if I end up coughing during the intro song or something, it'll come through. So I always mute.
Oh, yeah. No, doing good, dude. I'm excited to get into what we have for today. Thought that was kind of like a bombshell dropped last night. Seeing all the reactions as well. Positive, neutral, negative. That's kind of how I outlined things as we looked at it.
Yeah.
One major thing, and then it follows with the U.S. aid stuff as well, too. I think there's a lot of big news that we even, we covered a little bit of it, but still I think there's a bit more to be uncovered with that. I think largely was the Politico story we're going to get into.
Yeah.
Having state-funded media, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big one. It's a big matzo ball, I think is how they'll say that.
Right.
But yeah, we're going to get into, of course, Trump's comments about Gaza yesterday. We have more Doge discoveries as far as what's going on with the USAID and other things. Oh, that's all right, Chris. I see. I invited Chris if he wanted to come on tonight and talk about the Gaza thing and stuff like that, from his, military perspective and things. I thought that he might be a valuable contributor to that conversation, but he said he can't make it tonight. So, if things change, Chris, over the length of the show, I did send you the link, so feel free to drop in if you want to. See here, and then we're gonna get into Mitch McConnell fell down the stairs injuring himself. I guess I should call him Mitch, considering he did get injured. I'm not trying to be too harsh, but and then AG Pam Bondi has been confirmed, and she got to work today, so already making a difference, and we'll dig into some of what she's getting done as well. I see St. Michael of Cigarillo mentioned he's said it from day one. Beachfront condos for people that were born in Manhattan that have a dual citizenship.
Yeah, unfortunately, let's hope not.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll get into the potential pros and cons, and I'll just be honest with you when it comes to this whole Gaza situation that Trump brought up last night. I'm still kind of making my mind up on it, but initially I have a negative reaction to the whole proposal. But as we've witnessed, and I guess we'll just get right into it. Still was hoping more people would filter in, but maybe today will be a slow day. We'll just have to see how it goes. But I didn't have a very, very catchy thumbnail, to be honest with you. I've been super busy all day today, and I made it last second. And I know the guy on the right, what's his name, Al Green, is not very recognizable of a face, so it's not a very shiny lure to get people to click. But
oh yeah, moved a file to impeach.
Yeah, where he which that's another thing is that Al Green has introduced impeachment, whatever, over Trump's comments last night pertaining to Gaza. So the left is back to its old ways immediately. It's exactly what we would expect, to be honest with you. The way they treated Trump in his first term, especially when they had the Democrats had the majority in the House. You know, they basically spared no expense trying to impeach and make Trump look bad. They were really scared of him winning a second term, which we have, you know.
Right.
And seeing some of the comments coming in here, JB, I like this comment actually. Jay, Israel should be able to take care of it, and I 100% agree, especially when you consider how much money we've given them and everything else over the years. But and not to mention their own GDP, which is like way more in the positive than ours is and stuff like that. So I mean,
Right.
there's so many layers to it. We were talking about it in Discord last night, and I mentioned, you know, wouldn't it be surprised or would it be crazy a story arc if Donald Trump just goes dark Trump, or I don't know, might even said Darth Trump, and just levels Gaza and just plays the villain role and you know, buys up all the beachfront property and builds Trump hotels and all that stuff, which honestly I would not support at all. So would definitely be here calling him out if that was the move for sure. But I'm holding out hope. Just my initial thoughts, and then I'll let you give your initial thoughts on the whole thing when I saw the you know, Trump's announcement last night that where he proposed that the United States take control of the entire Gaza Strip and basically make it like a 51st state. I was like, this is a bad idea, really bad idea. But then I'm like, well, we just saw how Trump handled the tariffs with Canada and Mexico. He's a master of the art of the deal, and his thing is the big ask, right? And so he starts from an abnormally uh, exaggerated position, so that when the negotiations actually happen, he can, you know, the higher you start, typically the more you'll get out of the deal. You know, the more you ask for in the beginning, once the negotiations, the back and forth haggling go on, then you kind of end up in a better position, typically, right? But well, this is, there's just so much to this, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's not a part of the mandate that we set with Trump. We wanted deportations, mass deportations. We wanted security at the border and things like that. But you know, going back to what I was saying is, as it related to the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, day one they were implemented. By noon, both countries had come to an agreement where each country is putting 10,000 troops on the border to protect our border from people coming in from their own countries, respectively. And Canada is spending potentially like up to $1 billion total on this whole thing. And all it did was push it back, the negotiations. It bought them 30 days. So I expect more to come from that over the next 30 days as they try to strike a deal or whatever. But the things that they promised were ultimately good for us. And so maybe that's what Trump is proposing. I don't know. I did see today also that he followed it up with like a, not a threat, but he basically said that he'd like to see Iran not be a nuclear power, to halt all nuclear, you know, research and stuff like that. And he would like to reach some type of peaceful, lucrative agreement, which is kind of more on you know, Trump's true strength through peace and prosperity motive that he kind of went with in his first 4 years. So there's a lot to be seen there as well. And of course, Israel's actions will have a lot of weight in those negotiations as well. But what was your initial thoughts?
My first reaction, I think most people kind of have an idea of where I sit with this, especially if you see anything I say in the Discord. My first reaction was negative. I think even if we can peel this back, we're going to take some time to peel this back. But I think one of the main things with it too, before we get into anything crazy, is we've kind of moved the goalposts from getting out of the Middle East to here's what we can do that's positive in the Middle East. So now we've kind of changed this whole ordeal of what our initial plan should have been, which was like pulling out of Afghanistan, getting our troops home, just not being involved. Like we're just going to pull everybody back. Like we're done. We're done doing all of this empire building, nation building, and over in other countries. This is completely opposite of that. Now, this is if I'm taking Trump at his word. So if I take Trump at his word with the bomb clearing that he said, he mentioned, so obviously that comes with military intervention. We're not going to have civilians doing bomb clearing unless we want to see innocent people go up on mines. So that will, U.S. military will have to get involved. Chris brought up a good point too, which is his biggest thing with it, was not seeing more young men go overseas and die for things that like literally have nothing to do with us, just in the name for world peace or helping police other countries deal with their conflict. So that's my major first issue with it. I
Yes.
think, like what you had said too, like most people just have this feeling of wanting to be done being the interventionist. And I think majorly too, if what I was reading was correct, which was based on the level of conflict in that area with Hamas and the forces from Syria, this will break Trump's non-intervention record. We go in there and we place our military presence in that specific area that's highly conflicted, that will break his non-intervention record, because you can't do something like that and then expect there won't be some level of casualties. Maybe there's not, and I hope there's not. There's also this second layer, which is what I think most of the Trump MAGA diehards and a lot of the people who just refuse to see Trump maybe possibly making a mistake. And I think there's credence to that given what we saw with Canada and Mexico and the tariffs, which is the big ask. The possibility that this is being done not in an attempt to actually do what was said, but an attempt to sway the weight of the United States and our abilities to do stuff in an attempt to what I think most people are going to lean out to do, which is pressuring the other Middle Eastern countries to shore up and develop the area and claim it. I think ultimately, though, even in that sense, you might get to a spot where the conflict is over, but it still lends itself to the fact that the Palestinian people will be moved out, forgive me, or another country steps in. And now, whether Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, they come to an agreement and they say, okay, actually, this portion of what's being contended for ownership is now it's just owned by Egypt. Now it's just owned by this other country. And so that end goal ends the conflict, but it still displaces and forces all of the 1.7 now. I think we've went from 2.2 million or 2.3 million individuals to now 1.7. That's just how many Palestinians have died since this kind of conflict's been going on in recent numbers. Will now be subject to whatever new nation comes in. So that end goal, even if we go with the optimistic end, still forces a lot, like millions of people, into a situation they don't want to be in. It's a compromise to be said, right? But when you pair it with the words of Donald Trump, and to be, verbatim, which was, why would these people want to be there? He framed it in a way as like their lives are clearly in danger. Why would they want to be there? I liken that. Think of, if this is America, and this is hypothetical, 2050. But in 2050, say China steps in and they start attacking us here in the homeland. And Russia becomes a superpower by that point. United States falters a little bit. And then you're watching Putin on TV say, well, why would the Americans even want to be there? People are just dying all over. You would go, well, this is my homeland. Like I would want to be here. So even in that pragmatic sense, it doesn't attach itself to the or an irrational idea that people want to be in their homeland. And not to say it's irrational in the sense of it's a crazy idea, but more so that you can't pragmatically make somebody not want to be a part of their homeland. We see this play itself in Hollywood. We see it play itself in real life. Like people would do crazy things because they feel attached to the place they were born in and what they consider their home to be. So I think even if I were to go the most optimistic route, I still have a bad taste in my mouth, but I think we have to speculate because we have to see what the reactions will be. Now, I know TNT even highlighted there, people were floating around that minute segment of Bibi Netanyahu's face while Trump was speaking, and it looked like he was kind of like off guard, like taken
Right, it was
off
like the
guard.
first time he had heard it being suggested or whatever.
Right, exactly. And so it, even at a basic sense, it's not giving its full, it's not like we're completely doing exactly what they want. but in a sense, it still has consequences that lends itself to what they want to get started. And I think you look at the end of the day, it's like a 70-30 bargain where ultimately more of what Israel would like to have taken out is still being adjudicated for versus the Palestinian people. It's just a rough situation all around because this is just like on the most surface level. And I have a hard time placing myself based when we pair it with what we've seen with things like anti-Semitism laws and what they're doing on college campuses, as well as Trump's previous statements of wanting to get these people to be accepted by either Egypt or Jordan. It seems that we have kind of had a lead up to this period that's placed itself in leading it towards one country's favor. And I think at the end of the day, too, doing this kind of escapes ourselves of having that moral statement on what has been happening here. So if we are going to be the nation builders, I would also prefer it to be we're also putting the boot down on the morality so these things don't happen again, instead of just a kind of financial transaction. And I will say some of the more kind of crazy stuff and people who kind of bragging and gloating about it are posting like Trump towers, and AI images of a Trump tower in Gaza. And I think at the end of the day, that's not where we want to go either. We don't want to have a first state in Gaza, and it's a
Right.
small, tiny U.S. territory. But I would think it would be ironic to say another country comes in, they claim this territory, they make an artificial state, and they say, actually, we exist here now. This is ours now. And I think that would be ironic given Israel's history. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. There's just so many layers to it too. Like I've heard people talking about now this is Trump trying to repay Miriam Adelson or whatever, one of his big campaign funders, that type of stuff. And ultimately it is all speculation, but you're right, we must speculate. We need to be able to weigh the public opinion on this type of thing. And I don't know, it's just so Trump has been delivering on campaign promises, and then this just came straight out of left field, like completely unexpected. BB didn't see it coming, apparently, and so it's just, I don't know, man. A lot of people say Trump either an idiot or he plays 4D chess, not chest. And can you
Right.
guys tell I play chess? I or I don't.
I lift chest on Mondays.
They got chess days on Mondays. There's that one guy. What's his name? Oh, never mind.
Joey Swole.
Yeah, there's another guy. He's got a big beard, similar to yours, and he does these little short videos about Monday we do chess.
Oh my god!
Because if you want to,
Robert Frank.
Robert Frank, yeah, thank you. I don't want to repeat what he says, but I come across him sometimes on Facebook, and man, it cracks me up.
Yeah, International Chess Day. Yeah. He says some really funny stuff. Robert Frank 615, I believe it was his YouTube channel.
Yeah. What's up, Shauna? What's up, Donnie? See a lot of you guys. I saw Tix Bomber popped in for a minute. He's driving. Drive safe there, bud. I don't know if you're still listening or not, but definitely don't drive and chat. But you can drive and listen.
Right.
Oh, hey, what's up, Casey? Thanks for the $10. That's awesome. What's up, y'all? Let's see here. What's up, y'all? I love this conversation. Atlas is explaining this whole situation perfectly. We don't need any more Americans dying in wars we shouldn't be in. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Casey. That's
Yep.
really nice of you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. Gonna have to get you on the show one of these times, by the way.
Oh, was she the one you were telling me about that was part of that group?
Yeah, she's a friend from the coaching group and stuff like that. She's got her own channel, and check her out there too as well, you guys. She does have her own channel. But I also wanted to ask you guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. I always skip over that. Let everybody know too that we have a Discord that you guys can join, and that link is also in the description. But big time, thank you on that, Casey. That's really nice of you. You didn't have to do that.
Yep, yes, ma'am.
And so
I do have the better analysis, don't I?
Yeah, Alice has the better analysis, and I have the I always have my eye on the chat. So
I'm just messing.
No, I think we're actually a good mix. I'm looking forward to doing this for a long time, and I think we're going to be successful over the next year or two, whatever, however long it takes.
Yeah. No, you're where I was like 2 years ago.
Right.
It's like all the only difference is someone sat me down and said, "Son, do you want to talk about Ben Shapiro's favorite country?" And I was like, "Oh God."
It's like, yeah, you can't do that. Which is, one of those things. But let's see here. Jay said, how many wars do we try to stay out of only to have a big attack happen on U.S. soil and go anyways? Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, with all the amount of people coming across the border and, all these unvetted individuals, who knows what kind of threats are lurking. Definitely a scary, concerning thing to have to always keep in
Well,
mind.
pair that with what House had brought up earlier. I think we skipped over it.
Yeah.
Was we had all of the information leading up. It was probably like 6-7 months ago that we got from TPUSA and Charlie Kirk affiliates that there were sleeper cells coming across the border. I mean, not even just sleeper cells, but also that they were equipped with things such as military grade level javelin and HVAC rockets. Not HVAC rockets. I forget the actual acronym for them. Not air conditioning rockets, but
HVAC.
yeah, I'm forgetting the right acronym.
V2? No, those are Russian.
Yeah, but like more than just RPGs. But given how we understand just how wide open the border is, and that only certain areas were even being policed at specific times under Biden, there's a lot of fear that some of this stuff has made its way deep into the U.S. I think you don't even have to question that. I mean, when you look at the fact that TDA, Tren de Aragua, was taking over apartment buildings in Colorado, Colorado is a pretty good far bit away from the border, southern border. You also look at that famous example, I think it was in 2021, where they found that altar, I forget which cartel it was involved in, but they found that altar in New York, and surrounding it were all the photos of the people that they had killed and their blessings to Mary at that one
Oh,
statue there at Stone. And that was in New York, and that was in 2021. So I
yeah.
think it's a far, reach to say that they've probably found themselves and they're settled in now at this point. So we probably could see, I don't know the likelihood, but I think there's a chance where you could see some level of an attack on U.S. soil. Now, how much of that's been facilitated by the administration at large and how much of that's actually organic, them wanting to do it and place themselves here, it's hard to tell without more information. But this situation is so money hand heavy that I think it's not also a far reach to say there could be false flags attached to it as well. And
Right.
I think one of the things we did bring up in the Discord was just how much money was given to Donald Trump, largely from people whose interests are in the Zionist realm. And I think we talked about Miriam Adelson, and I don't know if hers was more than 100 million, but I think affiliates with Miriam Adelson, it's all added up to I think $230 million went into Donald Trump's presidency leading into this year, which is a massive amount of money.
Right.
But like we all know politics works, a lot of IOUs. A lot of, we got you into office. This is the reason why you didn't have to go to court. This is the reason why you didn't go to jail. We paid all these fees off. We paid for your lawyers. We bought this. It's like, you owe us now. Now you're going to do what we say. There's still a part of me that wishes that there's this level of Trump that goes, hey, thanks for the money. Get out of my office. I would like to see that version of it. Like, say, like, you should have given your money because you wanted me to be president, not because you thought you would be able to dictate what I wanted to do.
Right. But unfortunately, something that kind of supports the original theory and not what you just mentioned was that Donald Trump passed some type of hate speech law, or was it an executive order? I can't remember exactly. It was just kind of, there's so much happening, but it was basically anti Israel. Kind of similar to what I believe DeSantis passed in Florida, where it's that hate speech against that country and things like that.
Yeah. Well, the anti-Semitism laws. So it's not as widespread as what we saw with like HR 6090, where HR 6090 has been passed in certain states, but it's not at the federal level. But basically, as far as I understand, what was passed in that executive order is explicitly about college campuses. And this is in regards, like a response to what we saw with the pro-Palestine, what do you call them, protests. I don't know if any of them ever got to a riot, but the pro-Palestine. So chosen ones even sit in here getting deported. That's what the executive order does. So limiting the free speech rights of people who are here illegal, well, they're legally here on visas. But what I would say is I think those people probably should be deported, just not on the grounds that we disagree with what they say.
Right.
Not if they're going to be here, give them the First Amendment right. But I think they should. There's other grounds you could deport them.
Yeah,
So that
they're
was what
here
it was.
legally.
It was like cleaning up that college campus environment that was allowing all of those pro-Palestinian protesters to do that crazy stuff on college campuses.
Right, and they were basically calling for death. That's what Intifada or whatever. It's from river to the sea. I mean, they're basically calling for like a total eradication of their enemies, and so that's pretty extreme. And yeah, we definitely don't want that on college campuses. They're supposed to be safe, and they're obviously big state funded, even federally funded at times and stuff like that. So they do have some type of responsibility to keep that cleaned up. But
Yeah. Well, at the same time, there's a great video from Harrison Smith, and we can probably get to it here in a little bit later, but I think it's pretty meaningful. There's no, my first thoughts as well, and this is paired with the fact that we're also seeing a formation of a kind of strike team, a kind of, maybe that's not even the right way to say it, but a strike force rather. All of these anti-Semitic force groups put in place that are going to do everything they can to clamp down on it. And then I would ask someone to please point me to the anti-Christian strike groups.
mhm.
Where is that? And so it begins to garner the question of what is the religion of the United States? Is it, if you were to look at the recent actions of what we've seen from Trump given down through executive orders, you would think that we were also a state that practices Judaism at large, as if that's what the country that we were. So that's on those grounds, that's where I find it to be a bit troubling, because it seems that it always kind of like the river flows one direction. And that's where it begins to get troubling, because then you pair that, and these are all kind of small grains of sand, but then you pair it with now this, it's harder to fall to the other position of, oh, he's doing the big ask, rather than viewing it from maybe this positioning isn't 100% to completely give Bibi Netanyahu what he wants, but there's clear that there's kind of a trend in all of the choices that's being done by not only our government, but Trump himself.
Right. And so I'm seeing here Chosen One is mentioning that true Christians love Israel. I think the Bible says we're supposed to pray for Jerusalem. I don't know if it means if it's indicating endless funds in support of war and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say that we don't care or anything like that, but I think that gets expounded a little bit. You know what I mean?
I mean, this is where it gets to the heart of the issue with Chosen Ones here. And obviously, this is the largest contention point between Christians here in America. It can be explained with things such as dispensationalism, the idea that Israel being a physical place versus Israel being the people, the church itself.
Right.
And the idea of what was brought forward with the new covenant as well. So that's where you have the big division between the very pro-Israel Christians versus the non. And a lot of it does hinge on the fact of what you just brought up, which is the idea of what this is all going towards, the end result, the consequences of what this money is doing, which is a lot of innocent people being caught up in this, a lot of innocent people being harmed, killed, houses destroyed, and the end result of such. And at the end of the day, most people are, let's just stop the violence. Let's like not intervene at all. So you can even have a more further pro stance, but I think the easiest one to even come to is saying, how about it's not us? How about it's not our children that are involved in it? How about it's not our tax dollars that's involved in it? Like,
Yeah.
How about we watch from afar? Let these people handle it themselves.
Yeah, and they are allies, and we fund their their defenses and things like that. As part of honoring an alliance, that's one thing. I'm not a big fan of funding their offensive strategies, right?
Right.
I don't know if that's necessarily part of the deal, especially when The return isn't coming back over here. Nobody's helping us build our southern walls, our southern border. Nobody's helping us build our walls. Nobody's, considering funding an Iron Dome for the United States. We're just always expected to be this non-ending piggy bank, essentially, that takes care of everybody else. And this always sticks in my head, but Piers Morgan has this stance as it pertains to this Ukrainian-Russian war, and he thinks that we should spare no expense to make sure that Ukraine wins and that Putin is defeated. And it's like, dude, how do you come off so pompous from your home in Europe somewhere, where you're the country that borders these countries? Like, we got oceans between us. And somehow it's our responsibility. I know our democratic government has brainwashed a lot of people into thinking that, we have to win this. But technically,
Right.
it's a proxy war. We're not even like directly involved with it. Yes, we're supposed to be supplying aid, and we've given them weapons and things like that. But that's, even in my opinion, way too much, way too far. And so,
Right.
from an America First perspective, it's like we got tens of millions of people that came across our border in the last 4 years. Like, how are we in any position to give away weapons and defensive, monies and things like that, So, but, to my original point, there's some folks that just think that the United States is this never-ending piggy bank with this obligation to spend. And at some point, we have to draw a line, and that's just kind of where I stand on it. I didn't elect Donald Trump to win a holy war. I elected him to appoint Elon Musk to run Doge and clean up our government, bullshit spending. I elected him to get in there and hopefully maybe clean up some of the stuff that has to do with our elections, deport people in mass, make life better for Americans, Democrat, Republican alike, and maybe take some ground back from the Democrats, from the cult, back towards the Christian direction. You know what I mean? Instead of just slowing the Democrats down,
Right.
taking some ground back. And that's something that we mentioned before. So forgive me if it's repetitive, but that's important. It's something that we need to remain steadfast in. And like I've said before, good enough isn't going to cut it. We need the very best. We need to demand the very best. You know what I mean?
Well, I think one of the easier ways to even view this is you see it in the tweet from JD Vance, and I think this is a great point. One of the reasons they felt so easily just willing to tariff Mexico and Canada, and I think this extends to the EU as well. When you look at our alliances, all of our alliances with NATO, where's your guys' military spending? Where's all of your guys' like millions and dollars of aid going to all of these international conflicts?
Mm-hmm.
See, here it looks like the US pays this an exuberant amount of money into these international areas, but we don't get anything from you guys. We don't get anything from Canada.
Right.
It seems like you guys should be carrying more of your weight. You stretch that even over to Israel. I think it's the same thing. It's how many billions of dollars over the lifetime of our alliance with you guys? How much have you paid that back? Where's the trade-off here? So ultimately, I view most of our alliances, if not all of them, to be parasitical to a degree. Now, part of that is to be expected. If we are the top dog in the world, that's to be expected. We're always going to be the one who can give more than everyone else.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there should be a very obvious attempt from every other country to be like, we're so thankful, like we're so glad that you came and stepped in for us, and we're going to do everything we can to ensure that we can pay you back or find a way to uphold these agreements, that way that we don't have to keep coming in and asking you and begging you for money. But you just never see it from almost every country. And to a certain point where it's like maybe there is no country that's adequate enough for us to even be allies with, because any other country that's seemingly on our level is our enemy because they want to be top dog. So it puts us in a really bad position. Yeah, help for hurricane victims. And you put it like this, here's more money flowing out of the country, but I still see stuff about people in North Carolina who've not gotten help. I still see stuff. We just had California wildfires. And so a lot of people just take this as a smack in the face of
Or the people in Maui.
people in Maui as well. Yeah, Hawaii. And you can
East
just
Palestine,
continue this
Ohio. We can
Right,
go
Palestine
back.
too. Yeah, East
Yeah.
Palestine. It's like, yeah, we have our own Palestine that needs help over here. It's,
Right.
it just people just have a hard time taking it, and you see that because you know how much money the government has shelled out. We saw with the USAID. I mean, the people are getting 30 grand to make a trans comic book. You can't lend 30 grand to some random family there in North Carolina. You can't even like split it up 5 ways that just help these people. Set up some organization to help build homes and rebuild stuff. I'm not seeing it. And all we do see is more money just flowing out of this country. And ultimately, the majority of the time, it ends in other people dying that we should have no reason even ensuring that we had a say in what consequences became of them.
Right. And I see this comment here from Chosen Ones. It says, if we allow Hamas to stay, they will attack again. Yeah, they will. It's something that they're going to do until they literally achieve their goal or not, right? until they go away. And their goal is from river to the sea. But the problem with that one statement right there is we, right? If we allow, it's not, in my opinion, the United States' responsibility to put up one boot on the ground. They're not our neighbor. And our obligation to Israel is to help defend them. We fund a lot of that Iron Dome. And, at the same time, we're trying to give, $50 million to the Gaza Strip for Magnum condoms.
Right.
Those just recently discovered. So, I mean, it's that old meme where it's got missiles coming up from the left and it says my tax dollars, and it's got missiles coming from the right and it says also my tax dollars, right? So I mean,
Right.
we gotta one thing, we quit funding one side or quit, you know what I mean? But yeah, 50 million for condoms, exactly. And so I don't know, that it just kind of, I don't like the we part of that, you know what I mean? I feel like it's not that big a piece of land relative, and Israel should be able to take care of it if that's how they want to handle it. You know what I mean? Without our boots on the ground. We just spent also how much was that floating dock thing that we tried to build off the Gaza Strip that basically sank within a year and
That was
wasted
like
so much,
hundreds of millions, if
hundreds of
not
millions of dollars.
small
Like,
billions.
yeah, so I mean, that crap needs to stop. We don't need people over there. And I know that was one of Chris's biggest issues with it. Chance Von Fronde, he made me laugh with Al Green. Can't even be original. Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Well, the one
But
thing I would even add to that too, because I think if people aren't familiar with how I feel, just to be a bit more obvious,
yeah, I don't think it
is
even lasted a month there, TNT.
you just in a lot of these statements we do see in the we here, right? And that statement, this idea that floats around, and rather is the reason why you do see a lot of the breaking apart of the right wing, because people are beginning to be a bit more knowledgeable over the conflict because it's not going away. So people are looking into it. They're seeing a lot of big figures in the media, a lot of people they trust constantly talk about it in a way that differs from mainstream conservatism. They look into it a bit more. They do find that they disagree with the morality of what's being done. And they also disagree on the basic premise that what Israel is doing is in like this complete defense, as if Israel has only done these things because they've been attacked. People that premise is of challenge too. But that's what
Right.
makes this so toxic, is if you even move to the position of where Israel is definitely culpable for things that they've done as well, like what you had
Well,
said
the
with Hamas.
pagers,
Well, the
or go
pager
ahead.
thing too. I mean, that is a terrorist attack what they committed with the
And that
pager.
was like 12 years in the making or whatever.
Right. And they still, 12 years in the making, and they still ultimately had innocent children get hurt.
Speaking of which, apparently BB gave Trump a golden pager, and
Yeah, I saw that.
it's like, bro, you're gonna need to run that through bomb squad
Yeah,
like
right.
a couple times.
And well, I think the best way to say it too is like what you had just said. Like Hamas has their goals, and so does Israel, and that's why any sort of involvement there is like you're taking a moral position.
Yeah.
But it's fair enough when you're using the taxpayers of this country, when they look into what the moral stance then is being taken and they question it and they go, actually, I disagree with that. I don't want to be involved here. And that's a totally fair and reasonable position to take. So I think when it won't leave the news cycle and people are continually looking at it, you look at, especially today, right now, it's going to be what most news channels are talking about, given it's such a big kind of, it's in a toxic area and it's
Right.
Donald Trump doing it. Now people are now, okay, it's like the 10th time they've seen it. Now the 8th person who ignored the last 10 headlines now finally looks at it today and they're like, okay, they're like, all right, well, what does Ian Carroll have to say about this? And they go and they look at Ian Carroll for his breakdown and they go, wait a minute, this is entirely different to what most people say on Fox News. This is completely different than what Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro are saying. And it adds to this kind of rift that's been growing where people are like, wait a minute, none of what these guys have said kind of matches up with this kind of history I just got from these guys. And they start looking into it a bit more. And that's where you arrive in the situation where we are. And I think it's bound to have a really bad end goal if we continue seeing this kind of brushing under the rug, and anyone who would say otherwise is branded or labeled by whatever NPO or NGO that you're anti-Semitic for even offering up the idea that Israel might not be 100% morally in the right for the actions they've made. And I think that's where we are currently with this.
Yeah, definitely. I see Chris has joined us. Let me add you to the stage here. Chris, you ready to go? Give me a nod if you're ready. Okay, cool. All right.
Welcome aboard, Chris.
What's up, Chris?
What up, people? Yeah,
What's
no,
going on?
I was able to talk Caitlin into running out to the shed and grabbing the microphone and bringing it in for me.
Oh, nice.
So I'm not in the shed tonight. I'm in my bedroom. Katie's got you up on the big screen, and I got you here.
Nice. Appreciate that.
So
Glad you joined us.
Wanted to come join you for this one. This is a big one for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And ultimately, one of your big points that you made in the Discord yesterday was, young men and women's lives are going to end potentially because of this. And I think that's something that we all 300% agree with should not happen. And I'll let you go ahead and speak for yourself, but I just wanted to reiterate that because that is 100% the truth.
One point that was thrown at me earlier today was, well, we can do this stuff, but we don't have to send troops over. And I rebutted that with, think about this. Are we going to send Americans into a hostile environment, such as the Middle East, without protecting them? That would be complete and total incompetence.
Yeah.
So I don't see that. And also, he's wanting to get rid of all the bombs that they have in the area. God only knows how many of them are there because of all the underground tunnels and shit like that they had. It's just, I think this could be a legacy killer for Trump if this goes wrong, if this turns into an Afghanistan situation. This could put him up there with the rest of them, with Joe and Jimmy Carter and Buchanan.
Well, I agree with you. When I hear that, it goes against the entire idea of no new wars. One of the very common slogans that comes with Trump. But this is clearly an interventionist position to be taking here, inserting ourselves in there. Now, on the surface, it's easily kind of appealable to say, well, what we're doing is offering a solution that previously wasn't on the table. But that, once again, though, involves what you had just said, which is military men and women on the ground, hopefully not women, but military-age men on the ground, clearing out bombs in an area that we have outright just there's no reason for us to be there anymore. And it goes against, we had people who talked about how great it was that, he pulled people out of Syria, he pulled people out of Afghanistan, he was pulling people out of, could name 110 different ways, and how the government lied to him to even prevent him from pulling people out of these areas. Like Syria ended up lying and kept a couple hundred people back just to ensure they stayed there. But here we are now, where it seems there's a good portion of the MAGA base that's not their primary concern anymore. And kind of the anti-war group is now going this isn't what I voted for. I did vote for the anti-DEI, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
This is still a huge kind of block of morality that I'm not willing to agree with just because I like Trump. And I think it's further cause and further reason for the America First group, who is very anti-war, just like All Companion has here, is going to separate themselves and distance themselves from Donald Trump. And I think it is a good position to be in because we're past the election at least. So it's not going to remove him out of power by any means. But we could be looking at a period in which the right is going to take on a new evolution. Obviously, there's no true kind of right now successor to the MAGA movement. So we could ultimately see a new group take the momentum from MAGA and place themselves as the face of right wingers in this country.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have seen this video from last night. I'm going to assume that you have, but it's only 33 seconds. So let's go ahead and actually play what Trump said. And we can even see Netanyahu's reaction here to it as well. But Chris, we are getting a little bit of feedback, I think, back from your TV volume, but a little bit there. Sorry.
Microphone picks up everything. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to let you know. It's not too bad, but I could hear it. I got super sensitive.
I haven't had a screaming cat yet.
Okay, so let's go ahead and play this.
He hasn't started screaming yet.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. The U.S. will.
And so, to me, it almost seems like Trump was trying to propose that we fix it up and clean it up and create a thriving economy of sorts for the Palestinians in the area, for the natives of the area, you know. And he mentioned they just can't go back. And in my opinion, I think what he's talking about there potentially is the fact that they had an election. Forgive me, I don't know how long ago it was, but where the Palestinians basically elected Hamas to be their leaders. And so then Hamas has basically done whatever they wanted because they were given that power by the people. And so there's a problem with the culture over there. And so it's really going to be hard. I don't know, maybe they've learned their lesson, but I don't think these folks blame their own leadership. I think they blame, Israel and what they would call their enemies for everything that's happened to them. So I just don't think that's a realistic proposal for them to not go back, as Trump said. But I don't know. There's so much to this that it's just
right.
I don't know.
Well, that's why I likened it to imagine telling an American, why would you want to be in America? There's no chance. You're just going to keep fighting. So imagine, if you were to stretch that to, an American, they'd be like, dude, I'm going to die here. Like, this is my homeland. That's why I think even if we were to take it, we take it as exactly what they lay out, which is, these people, they're all these terrorists. Well, I don't think you can attach any kind of then rationality then to that, which is they clearly have a mission that they're willing to do, radicalist things per se. Mm-hmm. Not to say that I agree with it, but just for argument's sake, that's why it's very confusing, because I lean on the side with Chris here, which is I think this just is going to end in Americans being at risk. Americans will be there on the ground. Now, my hope is that this is just some kind of big, large bluff, but there's a lot of well-wishing involved in that to take that stretch, because that would have to be given in the vacuum of we didn't see everything else that's been pro-Israel that's come from like this Trump presidency and all the donations and such. But when you look at the full picture, I just find that to be the hard conclusion to jump to over what I think most people feel, which is that we're doing something for Israel because they're our greatest ally.
Right. Especially considering that Bibi was right there with him in tow. But I where did I see it? TNT said, remember when he said we'll own it? Remember he told Schumer he'd own it, referring to shutting down the government over the border. I don't actually remember him saying that, but he followed up and said, do you think this is just a phrase he uses? I don't know. And then I saw here too that Alt Companion says that he thinks he's offering to do the dirty work to give the land to Israel. And that's where what I said last night, that it's all speculation that we can do until we actually see some type of presidential, like executive order or a bill or some type of action, like that's more than just Trump standing there at a podium saying something, which TNT made a good point. Also, I think it was TNT that said he's reading this. So it's not even something that,
Like
it's
off
like,
the cuff.
yes, yeah. And so I don't know. Trump typically doesn't read a whole lot whenever he's talking or giving his speech. So I don't know.
Right. Well, remember, he
Weird.
paired this with the bomb clearing. So it wasn't like not a absent statement of substance. He paired it with the idea of clearing the area of bombs. So I think that it's an easy implication to say whether owning it outright, as in like we're going to put beachfront property out there, is one thing, but at least the stake that we're going to be putting people on the ground there, like our presence will be there doing something.
Right. And then Adam Price mentions here, I'm guessing a military base in Gaza is the plan. Might be a best case scenario for America. And then JB Falden said a military base and a port. Yeah, especially considering we just gave up that $5 trillion base in Afghanistan. It could be a potential, strategic position on the globe, but I just don't know if we really need that. I don't know. I mean, who benefits the most from it is also a valid question.
Well, we know who benefits the most from it. The people in Congress that have stock in Lockheed Martin and all these military industrial complex companies. Those are the ones who
Right.
will get the most money out of it. Basically money laundering.
Right. Maybe we'll hire Joe Biden's brother to rebuild it. Like they did in the first they did in the first thing over in Afghanistan or whatever. Just teasing, by the way.
But no, to Chris's point, what fell out of the news already is the fact that we had a $1 billion arms deal with Israel just before this happened. That involved 4,700 different bombs. That involved military-grade armored forklifts. I mean, we've already kind of given the equipment that also speaks to clearing the area and developing the area. And so military industrial complex benefits obviously with the money exchanging hands here, but I think if you look at this from who's losing the most, that's an entirely different question. And I still think that to answer that question, it is the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
You now are going to experience the same level of nation building that the people of Afghan had to go through. And how many examples did we have of American soldiers who had PTSD, and the stories that we heard of the Afghanis being marched out in front of the military bases and then being violated in the most ruthless of ways, and Americans just standing there and watching. And ultimately, we don't have any track record that shows we can be successful building any other nation up from the ground because we just do not share the culture with the people we try to do this to. So I think there's really only a lot of losers. And you look at it from this sense, the American taxpayer is the loser here. You look at it from the sense of Christian values, the Christian values are the loser here. Ultimately, there's a lot more losers. And I think what Rand Paul's saying here too, the easiest choice that we could make here is just saying, you know what, we're out, we're done.
Right. And
right?
so
I thought we had voted America first.
Yeah. And so with that, we have some of the negative, the neutral, and the positive lined out here. And we'll start off with the negative. First off, we have this one from Rand Paul. And this is his response to Secretary Marco Rubio, who posted, Gaza must be free from Hamas, as POTUS shared today. The United States stands ready to lead and make Gaza beautiful again. I'm not going to be buying one of those hats, by the way. Our pursuit is one of lasting peace in the region for all people. And then we have Rand Paul's response and said the pursuit of peace should be that of the Israelis and the Palestinians. I thought we voted for America first. We have no business contemplating yet another occupation to doom our treasure and spill our soldiers' blood. Very well said, and I tend to agree with Rand Paul on that one right there. Then we have Clint Russell also in the negative. I'm pretty shocked by this. 2 straight weeks of progress I never thought would happen. Then Netanyahu lands at the White House and Trump makes the worst decision I could imagine. It's bad enough to tell the Palestinians they need to leave Gaza. For the U.S. to then own it is insane. Which, like I said, Trump might have been insinuating that it's for fixing it up for the Palestinians, but they need to get on a better track. By when he said they can't go back, I think he means go back to, potentially could mean go back to support their full support of Hamas. But I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's going to be hard to divide the Palestinians from Hamas. They're kind of one and the same, in my opinion. But continuing, this is not what was promised. It was never even discussed. I never wanted to fund this war, much less pay for reconstruction, much less own Gaza. I'm going to assume for now that this is standard Trump negotiating big ask tactics, and he doesn't really mean it, but if he does, oh boy, catastrophic mistake. We were supposed to be done with nation building, particularly in the Middle East. This just cannot happen. Also well said. And then we have Dave Smith. Trump has done a lot of good things in the last few weeks, but it is hard to overstate how awful the Gaza idea is. Committing an ethnic cleansing on behalf of Israel, who has wanted exactly that way before October 7th, and taking ownership of the region is about as awful of an idea as any president has ever had. I hope he reconsiders. And so that's also pretty dang well said. Ironically, too, well, actually, all 3 of those are pretty much from a libertarian perspective. Rand Paul, Clint Russell, and Dave Smith, ironically. We have one of the neutral, which is Ian Carroll. And Ian Carroll's been popping up a lot lately on the stream. Is this an actual video? Okay, it's a 10-minute video. Should we get into the video, or should I just read the highlights there at the top? What do you think, Alice?
You can go either way. I think just to preface this video, the main reason I added it was because Ian Carroll has been, he's someone who's been listed by the ADL and other organizations as anti-Semite of the year and such. So we actually didn't even have the most negative reaction at first. His secondary thoughts came today, earlier when he posted this, but a few hours ago, where he kind of highlights that there may be more truth to the idea that this is like the big ask. And so, yeah, but you can go ahead and read his caption there. I tend to kind of outsource a lot of my critical thinking to Ian Carroll. I think he's just really, really good. Not to say like I'm an NPC who listens to everything he says. I disagree with him on Christianity. But largely, I'm also at a point where it's hard, until we see more actionable stuff with this, it's hard to do anything beyond just have first reactions to the whole situation.
True. And so Ian Carroll mentions here, unpopular opinion. There seems to be more to Trump's plan for Gaza than meets the eye. As I say a million times in this video, I'm not necessarily for it, but I also don't have a better solution. And to all my American First homies, I'd argue that Israel's level of subversion of the U.S. government makes actively dismantling Israel's global power systems an America First priority. I'm not sure it justifies boots on the ground taking land like this, but I'm not sure how else you do it. Now that we're at this point, I welcome others' thoughts on it. Now let the flame wars commence. So I'm confused. Let me go back. To all my America First homies, I'd argue that Israel's level of subversion of the U.S. government makes actively dismantling Israel's global power systems an America First priority, but I don't see how that correlates to destroying Israel's number one enemy, right?
So I guess I think what he means by this, and if we go full circle here and we do the whole 40 chess thing, I think largely this is, if you look at it in the way that this works, right? Say we take this video of the Bibi Netanyahu being, forgive me, being super kind of like taken off guard. This could be a sign that maybe there is a level in which Trump is saying, yeah, I'll give you things here or there, but you don't completely own me. We're not going to go with you on this. We're actually going to go ahead and do this instead. It does come with the war hawkish of we're putting boots on the ground, but it places America firmly in the way. So think about it like this. So we've only seen these things firsthand from cell phone footage, but a lot of this will get you in a bad position. You know, there's only so far you can even really talk about this kind of stuff. But what happens then when now America has the ultimate presence here in this area? Where are we going to see any more of these kind of any kind of more of these wild bombings? You know, do you think Israel will be in a position in which they can act on their full accord, which is saying, oh no, these people just they held hostages and that's why we had to nuke these multiple apartment buildings? Like, it's just, I think that kind of begins to go away, because they'll be under the threat of the fact that the American troops will be there as firsthand witnesses for what's happening. Still, though, I think he's just wording it in the sense of, if we were to begin to take steps to not wholly be subverted by a foreign entity, what else would it maybe look like? And I think that's kind of what he's gauging it at. Again, I don't know if I agree with him here, but I did think that his kind of neutrality on the issue was worth highlighting.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Where did I see it?
I can picture Tix was driving and you screaming at us since you couldn't type to us.
Yeah, it's good to have you back in chat there, Tix. Glad you made it to your destination safely. Or at least safe enough to where you can chat with us now.
No, Jay, I don't think it would.
He
I
mentions
think
if we
we'd still
take,
end up giving them. Go ahead, but sorry.
I was just going to read Jay's comment. If we take over Gaza for Israel, does that mean we will stop giving Israel billions per year? I don't think so.
It's a thought, at least, and I think that's probably part of what Ian's arguing here, which is, you know, how about instead of we just constantly send you billions of taxpayer dollars, like what if we just come on the ground and we see what's going on here? Like, we'll take a look for ourselves. Again, I'm being overly optimistic because I don't want to wholly black pill on the situation. But given that, again, it still falls back to, we need to see more. Like, let's let this play out a bit more.
Right.
But understand, if we start seeing some full dog leash getting yanked and Trump just seems to be a puppet of Netanyahu, that's a whole other situation. And I think that you will see a lot of people again get very vocal.
Right. And you know, Trump understands the language that these folks speak, right? And that is power, money, and death. And I count on my fingers and you guys couldn't even see it. That's funny. I'm over here counting down. And but it is. That's the language that these folks understand, even in Iran, right? And there's a message being sent, and maybe it's if America moves in and we make that an American territory, and you send a missile, you send, you know, whatever, like we saw on October 7th, it'd be like touching Florida, and you'll then face the repercussions of what would happen if you touch Florida. You know what I mean? That's a whole new level. like we saw the reaction to 9/11, for instance, is an example, or Pearl Harbor or whatever. Both immediately, like, directly resulted in us getting involved in hot war, right? And so that's maybe the message. It's like, look, we're either going to take it over, and you're going to be forced to make a decision of go hot war with us, or like I said earlier, that Trump did put out a statement talking about he would rather see Iran commit to not becoming a nuclear power and thrive through Chris, look like you're dozing off there, bud. And
Sorry.
thrive. You're good.
No, I'm just listening.
You're good, bro. And thrive through peace through prosperity. You know what I mean? But
I was trying not to like bust out laughing. Dude.
But House mentions the Abraham Accords was a cash grab for Jared Kushner's private equity firm. I don't know a whole lot about that, to be honest with you. I can tell you just my age group, peace in the Middle East has always seemed like one of the most biggest achievements that could be attained. So I appreciated like seeing flight patterns be opened up, and countries being recognized and stuff like that. I don't know about the I have to dig more. Maybe we can talk about it in the Discord about Jared Kushner's private equity firm.
Well, as House also pointed out, this whole beachfront property in Gaza and transforming this area into a tourist attraction has also been spoken about at length by Jared Kushner himself too. So there's still a bit of, what would you call that, circumstantial evidence that speaks to there being a much bigger reality to this instead of it being the 40 chess big ass kind of move. What I will say though, you if we were to really kind of, you take the full on negative sense of this too, which is we're just here to do other countries' biddings, whether it's Israel's or Ukraine's or whatever. It's still, we're not getting that Molotov cocktail that we needed from Trump, which was we don't want to be this globalist state. And most people in the most basic sense who even, maybe don't follow politics all that much go, yeah, I wanted to be done with this like 8 years ago. I just don't know where we go if you lose a lot of support from your base and you're left with just the same kind of neocon grouping, new right, not new right, but old right establishment individuals there. Now we have some of the positive things there too, but we saw the one from Marco Rubio, obviously, and he's clearly like, make Gaza beautiful again. Like, this is so great for Israel. And then you also have people like Nancy Mace, who's like, let's turn Gaza into Mar-a-Lago. And it's like, who wants this, right? Like, who do you talk to on a daily basis that wants this? And I think it's easier to understand that if you look at the framing of, okay, so what if Israel did have a lot of control over America? It's like, oh, then this makes sense. Outside of that, though, it's like, this doesn't make any sense. And I think Clint put it best when you go, who voted for this? Where was this on the campaign trail?
Right.
Yep.
Right. So then getting into... go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, we were okay with, keeping them as an ally. And when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, that was a big thing. That was, I considered a good thing.
Yeah.
But this is just a step too far. If, I'm trying to be positive and wait it out. And I've been praying about it a lot. But if he ends up going with this and actually following through, and we do end up sending soldiers, I think it's going to be a step too far for a lot of people.
It will be. It will be for me, that's for sure. If you want to make a soldier busy, we got 40 million people to deport. I got a job for them right now. We don't need them doing work over in Gaza or Ukraine or any of these places, to be honest with you. I'm ready for...
You said that because we didn't see deportation numbers for a couple of days. ICE actually turned that over to the White House, I believe. The White House began posting the numbers again. We're down now. We're dramatically down. We were rising in numbers. Now we're down at 600. we're on pace right now to deport a little over 1 million in 4 years with Trump. So right now, I understand we're talking about a situation that would be moving 2 million people in a whole other country to 2 different foreign areas. That's
They
very
don't want 'em.
morally contestable, versus what we know is a very morally right thing to be doing, which is getting the illegals out of our country. And we got, like what we said at the high mark, 40 million of them.
Right.
And that's
And-
what concerns me, because a lot of what makes up our culture is clearly the people who are inside of it. You know, America's more than just an idea. I egregiously disagree with that. America is a place, and it has its people. And we're not going to see much change in terms of the moral makeup of who votes in our elections, who has these kind of ideas, without actually getting the people who won't assimilate out. And without that, it's just, a lot of this just falls apart for me. Makes me very less excited for Trump to be the president.
Yeah. And that's something, like I said, we need to demand the best. Nothing's good. Not good enough doesn't work. But let's get into some of the positive, if there is any. Right, we put together some negative, neutral, and positive. So we got 2 things here on the positive perspective. But this one is a post from. Let me put it on the screen. Eric Daugherty. Daugherty. Probably, I don't know how you say that name.
Eric.
Eric. It's from Eric. Eric D.
Mr. Eric.
Breaking
Not Eric's D. Okay, let's clarify that. We're not talking to that part.
Clarification.
Breaking National Security Advisor Mike Walls confirms that Trump's proposal to take over Gaza is meant to pressure neighboring Arab nations to come up with their own solution. It's going to bring the entire region to come with their own solutions. Okay. Let's see what this one has to say.
I mean, you have literally nearly 2 million people living in a place that has thousands and thousands of unexploded ordnance and bombs. It's in some places like a minefield. You have buildings that are collapsing and unsafe. You have no sewage, no running water. It has become completely unlivable with this war that Hamas started on October 7th. And I, as a veteran, can tell you it is despicable and sad that groups like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, ISIS literally sacrifice the lives and the livelihoods of their own people to achieve some type of ideological gain. But I think what the president is just acknowledging is we've been looking at this over the last weeks and months, and frankly, he's been thinking about it since October 7th, and that war is, you know, everybody's heart breaks for the Palestinian people across the region, and rightly so, but he's not seeing any realistic solutions on how those miles and miles and miles of debris are going to be cleared, how those, you know, essentially unexploded bombs are going to be removed, how these people are physically going to live for the at least a decade, if not longer, it's going to take to do this. So the fact that nobody has a realistic solution, and he puts some very bold, fresh, new ideas out on the table, I don't think should be criticized in any way. I think it's going to bring the entire region to come with their own solutions.
So a couple of things I want to say there too. If I'll just start this off, because I got them fresh in my head. Is the first thing is this the faulty premise that all of this happened on October 7th. Like, this is the conflict, like, starts on October 7th. It's just one of the biggest lies you'll see being pushed.
Right.
The second thing is, who bombed this area? It wasn't the Palestinians. Like, the Palestinians didn't bomb their own homes.
True.
We have numerous footage. You know, even Thomas Massey highlighted the one crazy bombing that was caught on camera, which just took an entire apartment building out, that
Right.
Israel had said. And I think somebody, and I can't remember what her name is. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, granted, Hamas has destroyed the infrastructure by tearing out the pipes and the plumbing and other
Right.
things, building tunnels, which, you know, who knows if there's sound and things like that. So, I mean, but to your point, you're 100% right. It's just, I just wanted to throw that little thing in there too. It's not like Hamas
No, I
hasn't
think you're right.
destroyed their own
Yeah,
country
there's a
as
caveat.
well.
You know, it's on both sides. But I think largely when you look at the mass destruction, and I was going to pair this with the point, I can't remember what her name was, but she actually was pressed on this, and she said it very well. There's a strong unwillingness to do things like how America does them. And when we know Israel is more than capable of doing them, which is like special operations. Here in the States, what we do is if, say, someone was taken hostage, we have like a primed negotiator ready to go. We have snipers on rooftops. We have all of these special force groups that are met in place, and they're put in place largely to not have to resort to things of this nature. Largely, like if your grandmother, I think that's the exact way that she put it, like if your grandma was taken hostage, well, you would expect, like, well, didn't the, I'm not going to dox you, but didn't the local city police, like, they had their sniper team and the SWAT group was there? Like, did they not send their guys? It's like, yeah, no, they're using her as a human shield, so we just bombed the building she was in. You'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? My grandma's gone. They're like, yeah, we had to get rid of him. And it was like, so there was no step in between, oh, he's got him, and let's bomb this whole area out. So there's a lot of things like that kind of get lost in the mix here, especially when you have people like Ben Shapiro and a lot of those who sit there and go, Israel's more than capable of doing this themselves. Like, they have all of this funding, and we see it. We see how much funding goes into this. We see how much the IDF is supported here, the Israeli Defense Force. And so you go, so there's no part of them that they don't attempt to follow American techniques or American special like ops. Like, none of that's there. So I do disagree on that point there too. But it's wild to say, like, we do feel bad for these people, but here's why we're pushing them all out of their country, and we're gonna just go ahead and clear the area and take it ourselves. Like, that's a wild kind of end point to reach, or conclusion to reach rather. Especially when but again, the framing he gives it, obviously he has a specific bias about this when he speaks about the issue in total.
Yeah, Jay,
I agree with that.
Yeah, Jay mentions here, Israel controlled the water and power going to Gaza. Are they going to be nicer about it if they rebuild Gaza? They all know to have limited those. They are known to have limited those before. Sorry, they are known to have limited those before. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's definitely, it's like Tick said, the solution is one's going to have to conquer the other or come to an agreement and stop playing war. And unfortunately, I just feel like Hamas is just inherently violent. So it's going to be a tough one. And no, you're good, Jay. I just sometimes I've gotten to the point where I can read about 3 or 4 words ahead of what's coming out of my mouth. And if there's like one word that's off, then it just totally like scrambles the whole mechanism. So I probably could have figured that out if I was going slower. But yeah, no worries. No worries.
If I may, real quick, I want to criticize him for the last thing he said, because that's just freaking bizarre to me, to sit here and say that you don't have a right to criticize the president. Bullshit. The president is the person who should be criticized the most in our society, because he represents all of us. And if he screws it up, it screws all of us over.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Well, that pairs well with what I was going to say with the comment from TNT there, which is, if they have to live in that shithole, perhaps they will not vote in terrorists as government. And so that brings out a moral question, right? Which is a question of principle. So if you were to believe in democratic processes, well, the democratic process to be honored would be, well, the best solution and the best consequences of a democratic system or infrastructure is that the people's choice was honored and who the people voted for goes in. So that brings in the sense of, well, so if those people voted for it, but you as an outsider disagree, so then that brings about the force doctrine, which is you disagree with what they wanted for themselves. So now you're going to force them into a different outcome. So that speaks to the idea of, do you honor the principle of what you believe democratic processes should be, or do you have another underlying bias that takes priority over a democratic process?
Right.
But I could say the same thing about China. I think a lot of what people do over in China and the leadership there is ultimately bad, with child slave labor and such. So where's us coming in to morally oblige ourselves on top of China? It's not there. It falls into these smaller situations where you bully people, a lot smaller countries than that we can easily go into, that we're not really going to have any major fear. Like, if things got tough, yeah, so what? But again, there's also a caveat even in that too, which is how much is Iran going to put up with before they get a say in it?
Right.
And then if Iran has to say in it and they come out outright and disagree, then you bring in Russia, then that brings in China, and now here we are facing another extreme world conflict because we would not just back away and let them handle it for themselves. So I think ultimately it's like if you had to pick from 100 different doors, there's only 2 blue doors for good consequences, and the other 98 are all red. It's like this is really going to have a high chance of ending poorly for everybody involved.
Yeah, that was really well said. Yeah, like for real. I mean, I love that what you said about the democratic process. It's just like it really is tied to people's principles, and that handcuffs principled individuals, and not so much the other ones. But
yeah, well, I will agree with Jay here, which is it's complicated. I know what poll that World is referring to, which is it was like 54% majority voted in the Hamas leadership, was pro-Hamas leadership. But again, this entire conflict is so extremely propagandized that you have to take like an hour to go into it and be like, okay, who actually wrote on this? Who was it written by? How trustworthy is this source? And so I will agree there could be a level in which where you go, all right, there is a portion that it was under threat of like, oh, you have to vote for this. But then again, if it's a secret ballot, right, it's a basic process everybody else runs an election, then it's hard to even say like they're threatened into doing so, right? And then if it's not the secret ballot, then yeah, it draws into question, was this truly a democratic process? But if we're to honor that they had an election and that's the way it was held, you then go, okay, we just don't like who your leader is. But you can also stretch that to a bunch of other countries who we would agree be morally aligned against in the choices that their leaders make.
Right. And Jay mentions the elections in Iraq when I was there were crazy. The terrorists were causing all types of issues and threats. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the reason why they were having elections in Iraq was because the United States went in, hunted down, and killed Saddam Hussein. Well, I guess we didn't kill him, but we hunted him down and found him, and then they took care of the rest, I guess. But it's who would even be the head, the leader of like Hamas or Gaza or whatever that would even be like the one you would have to take out of power first. It's like an organization, you know what I mean? It's really it's interesting. And which brings me to the next point. If we did have a particular leader, the way Trump handled these individuals in his first term were precision strikes, no boots on the ground. I think he was having a dinner with in Mar-a-Lago with the Chinese president, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we just killed al-Baghdadi, whatever, the leader of a terrorist group and part of Iran or whatever, you know what I mean?" And there was the other one. What was his name? Soleimani, or I can't remember the name. But there was Soleimani. Yeah, there was a couple of them that he just took care of, like boom, you know what I mean? Threat identified and removed, and which makes it even more weird that there's this suggestion that Trump would actually go full boots on the ground. It's just totally out of character, and it's scary to think that maybe he's being persuaded or controlled. But I don't think that's actually going on. But it would be a concern, just because we consider his the character change, But to what this reporter just said, it could be just the big ask to force the other countries in the region to actually put forth a legit type of solution and quit playing war. And Donnie, I had to put that on the screen. Sorry, Chris. Like and subscribe to get Chris and Red Bull. It made me laugh, so I had to put it on there.
No. I usually pass out about this time of night. So.
Yeah, and you're totally fine. I asked you last minute, like 5 minutes before the show started, if you wanted to join us. So I know it was not in your agenda. So I appreciate you being here and contributing. That's for sure.
Just to answer TNT's question, yes, JB did serve over there. So he's got a wealth of knowledge of the stuff that actually went on. I've talked to quite a few veterans who were in that area from 2001 on, and just to hear some of the shit that happened and some of the shit that they went through, it's heartbreaking. If you feel you're too much of a man to cry, go listen to some of the stuff that they went through and they saw, and I guarantee you'll cry. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see a lot of people thanking Jay for his service, which we thank you as well.
Yes, sir.
And any of the other veterans out there. I know a lot of folks that watch the show are actually veterans themselves, so veterans yourselves. So yeah, moving on. This is the second positive. This was a post from Nancy Mace. Let me just double check that. Okay, and it says, let's turn Gaza into Mar-a-Lago. Okay, that's what she said. And
Yeah, that's the same clip we just watched.
is it the same clip? I was gonna say this looks like it's gonna be the same clip.
Yeah.
I did see a funny clip from that where I didn't save it. Oh, man, I wish I would have. I saw it on Crowder actually this morning. It's the first time I watched Stephen Crowder's show in a long time. I just wanted to hear their thoughts on this stuff because Gerald is pretty religious, and just wanted to hear his thoughts mostly on it. But they played a video of a woman with a heavy Indian accent asking a question, and Trump just
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what you said.
He stops like right in the middle.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's beautiful accent. I just can't understand what you're saying.
I thought it was fun.
Translator.
He got a good laugh out of it.
No, well, I think the main thing I just wanted to show here is I think if you scroll down a bit, you can see like the replies versus the likes. People
here?
clearly were against it. They're pretty even, right? 4.2 thousand replies and then 4.2 thousand likes. People are going hard at it.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
2.5 million views. People are clearly going against it too.
yeah, definitely. We got E. He said, so you supported Hitler removing the Jews from Germany because he didn't want them there. Isabella Moody, who is a friend, said, I hope Trump sees this. Maybe he'll even grab your hoo-ha, sis. That's funny. She's a good troll. She's a troll on internet troll. She does a good job at it.
Yeah,
this is
well,
an American.
Her husband, Steve Windman, is part of that group. Who's that other guy? They had a new guy that just joined like a couple months ago that started doing videos with them. That's pretty funny too.
Luke
Isabella?
Beasley.
Yeah, she's doing a show with Luke Beasley now. He's a Democrat guy, and
Nah, this is a guy like us. Shoot, I can't think of the name right now. Sorry, but he's on their Resist the Mainstream channel.
oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
I have too many podcasts I got to listen to. I'm so behind on people.
Bro, for real.
Me too,
For
bud.
real.
Me too.
I did take Tim out of the rotation though. I actually unsubscribed from him on almost everything.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not happy with him either. He's been.
Luke's got a pretty mouth. That's funny.
Yeah.
Tex Bomber said, I didn't realize until
War.
recently how spicy Isabella Moody is. Yeah. She embarrasses Luke on that show all the time with some of the stuff she says. She calls what does she call Kamala? Can't remember. She says Kamala Harris, but she says it like sneakily come something. I can't come swallow. That's what she says. Come swallow Harris.
Paula.
Come swallow something like that. It cracks me up. And Luke's just like blushes from the embarrassment.
No, well, what's funny is I did have a huge boost because Harrison Smith, I saw this clip from him, made it on AF Post, even highlighted it too, which is a pretty stark difference because we kind of even saw Alex Jones. So people who don't know, Harrison Smith is one of the top anchors on InfoWars, which I think is going to be changing its name. He does the American Journal segment. So it's like him and Owen Schroyer are like the top dogs on that channel, outside of Alex Jones, obviously. Harrison Smith Owen Schroyer's been pretty based. I like a lot of what Owen Schroyer says, but he still kind of rides. He doesn't get really more than just a little edgy, but he's definitely more so dissident right than you would imagine. He's definitely not, con Inc. by any means. This was a kind of wild take from Harrison, who's even been kind of behind the ball in terms of dissident right from Owen Schroyer's position. Now, this is Harrison being a bit open in regards to what we've been seeing with this lead up to what's going on with Israel, Gaza, the West Bank, and such. And so it's hilarious because he does a really good job. He's a good journalist, and so this 30-second clip you'll find funny.
Sorry, I was typing. I'm gonna play this. I had to respond to Donnie. He's talking junk.
So it's like you go back and forth where it's just like Trump is ending all the foreign aid. Everybody's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, except for Israel. So, what was that last part? I said that Trump is reasserting free speech in universities. They're not going to be biased anymore. Everybody's like, yeah. And it's like, except anti-Semitism, you can't talk about Jews. It's like, sorry, what was that last part? It's like everything that Trump is doing that's good has a little carve out, a little caveat, a little dent in it. Just the size of anti-Semitism. It's kind of annoying, I have to be honest with you.
Nope.
Just the way he worded it, because it's very accurate and it's very performative. But like you're like, yeah, dude, Trump's it's like all free speech again, except you can't talk about anti-Semitism. Like, wait, what would you just say? And it's like, no, and like changing subjects, obviously. But I thought that was good, and I think this drives. I think a lot of what you see is that major difference between the New Right and the Con Inc. group, which is the New Right wants a very hardcore change of what's front-facing Christian values versus where Con Inc. is. Where Con Inc.'s kind of adapted a lot of the very liberal-based ideology. You get a lot of the, do what thou will, and they kind of more adopt the anti-woke reactionary, but not replacing it with anything, just kind of more so the New York Democrat Trump style that we see. That's kind of what they've adopted. And then I think a lot of people are like, yeah, no, how about we say, it's the Shia LaBeouf meme, like, say Christ is Lord. Like, that's the New Right. Like, that's them. It's like, say Christ is Lord. And then you end up getting everyone else who's a lot more, liberal in that sense. So it's a cool kind of breakup there.
Yeah.
No, I liked it because it reminded me of Jon Stewart back when Jon Stewart was Jon Stewart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For he was completely captivated. For almost every single Sunday night host was entirely captivating.
Yep.
Right. So then moving on, we got Israeli Prime Minister gifted gifted President Trump with both a golden pager and a standard one. Okay, I heard that he gave him a standard one too. Who uses a pager nowadays? Like, it's just so that they can direct message Trump. Like, here's your two pagers. You can use either one. They'll both get the same messages, but when we send them, you better respond.
When
Well,
we send them, you better throw them.
Right. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Too bad they didn't show a picture of it. I'd like to see a golden pager, but
oh yeah,
somebody
if you just search it, you should find it. I was seeing pictures floating around everywhere. I just got this one because the quote there is that Trump supposedly, and this is from the source, the Hebrew CH12, the Cradle, so who knows how credible that is, but they're quoting him as saying, like, applauding that operation.
Yeah, I said that was,
I would argue, is a terrorist
operation.
attack.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely I don't even know what you call it. It's not typical warfare. I'm sure if they'd have to write a new chapter in the rules of war, right, to cover that one.
Right.
What is it? The
Art of War?
No, the rules of war. The
Rules of engagement?
Rules of engagement. But no, but there's like a code of ethics to war that, like, if you use chemical weapons, it's a breach of the
Crimes against humanity?
Yeah, it'd be a crimes against humanity. But what's it called? I need House to fix it for me. Geneva Convention. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Donnie came up with it.
Oh, we're not talking about.
It's it's a breach of the Geneva Convention or whatever, where they'll hold people on trial for the like stuff like that. Like whenever, what's his name? use the chemical weapons on his own country, if he even really did.
No,
First golden pager message 80085. Old calculator games.
right.
Oh, Tix, that was hilarious. That's the comment of the night.
No, well, I would argue if he hears that pager going off, like it's probably it. It's probably Trump's last thing he will hear, if it's
Right.
anything from Israel. But with that being said, it's wild that we got this news, and also the fact that Trump gave a threat to Iran. He said along the lines of he's already laid out what his wishes would be if something
Oh,
happened
yeah.
to him during his presidency. But again, it's targeted towards Iran, and it's like what was Iran even doing? It's like you're over here throwing yourselves and your weight to the Middle East, and you go and threaten Iran. It's like it's still this kind of idea that Iran's got people like just waiting to come in and snipe at Trump. I just don't buy it. I think that's like the big deep state operation, which is get people to be at home very overtly opposed to Iran.
Yeah,
Well,
he
I did
basically
go ahead.
said if something happens to Trump, I saw it last night. If Trump laid it out where it's like if I was assassinated, basically the certain destruction of Israel of Iran or something like that. It was pretty strongly worded. He must be feeling the heat from some pretty serious threats from Iran.
Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I actually have an article that was like from what is it? It seems like 8 minutes ago. Trump's already pulled back on the plan.
Okay.
Trump's Gaza plan does not include troops. U.S. funds to rebuild, White House says.
Okay. Oh, that doesn't have all three. There we go.
Where's that video there?
So let me try that one. There we go.
Okay, perfect. This is Caroline Levitt on Wednesday clarified the remarks does not intend to pay for the reconstruction of Gaza, nor has it made any commitment to send U.S. troops there, she said.
Good.
Saudi said that it would not establish diplomatic relations with Israel, a long-term U.S. foreign policy goal, because obviously we're allies with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Without the establishment of an independent Palestinian state, and officials from Moscow to London reaffirmed commitments that Palestinians be allowed to stay on their land.
Nobody wants them.
Yeah, right. Iran backed
dangerous.
from also the plan. Right. Interesting. In Israel, far-right leaders and senators lauded the idea.
Sure. Of course they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we saw in that video just the amount of destruction. Those buildings that are standing would need to be leveled before they can even build anything in its place. It's an insurmountable amount of money to literally try to rebuild that place. So I mean, talk about the big ask. I think that's something you would actually be able to call Trump's bluff on and just be like, yeah, okay, he's really going to the extreme with this one. But
that funny meme of that lady reporter who's with those Islamic extremists, and they ask them, they're like, so like, what do you guys think about women like voting and having rights and stuff? And the guy literally says, turn the camera off. And like they start laughing, and he says like, turn the camera off. That's how probably both people feel about when you give them this idea. Is all of them are like, yeah, turn that camera off, dude. Like we're gonna give you a peace of mind about what you just said here.
right. So moving forward, we got a couple other things I really want to touch on before we run out of time. The CIA has offered the entire workforce to be laid off, and this one's interesting because I'll just play this little clip from Jesse Waters to start us off here. And add that, and we'll go back to this view. Okay.
Fox News alert, the Wall Street Journal is reporting the CIA has reportedly just offered a buyout to its entire workforce. Everyone in the agencies telling employees late today they can quit their jobs and receive about 8 months of pay and benefits. It's a part of Trump's push to downsize the federal government. More as we get it. Fox News alert.
So I don't know about the 8 months pay, but
Well, a
I'm
lot
all
of
for
them
the
ready to go to
downsizing of the
jail.
government. Go again.
Said a lot of them got to go to jail. So
Yeah.
this is another compromise, right? We'll get all these people who should probably be in jail, at least out of their positions of power, and we won't even give you a full year pay. And I think it's actually not just like 8 months pay, but it's like their benefits cut off and combined. So who knows how much pay they're really going to get out of it.
Mhm.
But crazy that they offered the entire CIA workforce that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like with any industry, you're gonna have people on both sides or whatever, but it's crazy. And then I have this breaking news from 2 hours ago that more than 40,000 federal employees have accepted President Trump's buyout offer. The number has more than doubled since yesterday. So, dang. I wish we could get the illegals to deport themselves in masses.
Yeah, I'll offer like sentence them to jail, but instead of going to prison, it's like you're now sentenced to 4 years of hard deporting. We have to deport 25 people a day, or or you're going to jail.
Right. Jay says, I hope most of them are IRS. Right. That's for sure. 8 months severance. TNT says 8 months severance is solid, but there better be a clause that you don't get it if in jail. Yeah. You must have to. You should have to open yourself up to like a full investigation. It's like if you take this deal, we open the book on your permanent record.
Yeah.
So that's interesting and recently developed. We also have Kamala Harris's full 60-minute interview has finally been released. It's a little late, but better late than never. And of course, we're not going to watch the full 60-minute interview, but we have this news, and this is the interview that President Trump sued CBS over for editing Kamala's answers and lying to the American people. If you remember, they ran previews of Kamala saying one thing, and then when you actually watch the interview, she was saying something different. Another example of the mainstream media, the power of Hollywood, running cover for the Democrats and blatantly, openly opposing Donald Trump. It's election interference, in my opinion, and it's just funny, like how this stuff isn't. She can't suck her way out of this one, JB said. You're good. But it's and with that, what we've also seen from the USAID discoveries, that you touched on it earlier, Atlas. Do we have it actually in the outline? I don't know if I see it here.
Yeah,
My eyes
so
might be
it's
skimming over it.
right
Yep.
above Bitch McConnell.
Okay.
Bitch
Elon Musk.
McConnell.
Yeah, I call him Bitch McConnell in the outline.
He's well. Let me spin this because, well, I'll wait till you're ready. Never mind. Go ahead.
Well, I was
Sorry.
just gonna say, as it relates to 60 Minutes running cover for Kamala Harris and opposing Donald Trump is outwardly. We also have this one from Benny Johnson. This is the biggest scandal in news media history. No employee at Politico got paid yesterday. The first time ever the company missed a pay period. This is a crisis. Now we learn Politico, a news company which spent the last 10 years trying to destroy the MAGA movement, was being massively funded by USAID. Trump and Elon deleted their funding, and now Politico will go out of business. The corruption is endless, good riddance. And so it directly correlated that Politico has had their funding cut from USAID, essentially, and now they can't make their payroll. Completely being propped up, seemingly, by USAID. And Politico, they have countless amount of times, fact-checked right-wing, what they would call right-wing media, like Steven Crowder and things like that, and wrote hit pieces and stuff like that, and literally at the expense of USAID. We're funding a political propaganda news source, right? Benny Johnson followed this up and said, this is an email Politico sent to all employees yesterday. No one got paid. Politico's corrupt management blamed this on a glitch and not their government gravy train ending. And here's what it says. Dear team, Golly and I want to address this morning's payroll issue directly. Due to what we believe to be a technical error, employees did not receive their paychecks as scheduled. We understand the urgency of this matter and sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. Our team is working diligently with our systems vendor and the bank to identify the root cause and implement a solution as quickly as possible. We will keep you updated as we learn more and work to resolve the problem as quickly as possible. Thank you for your patience and understanding. If you have any immediate concerns, feel free to reach out directly. And then he followed that up as well. This is kind of a thread. Ironic that the amount of Feds funds pouring into Politico increased exponentially after they successfully laundered the deep state CIA election rigging propaganda against Trump. And we see here this Politico, a screenshot of Politico saying that the Hunter Biden story is Russian disinformation. Dozens of former intel officials say. Now, this aligns with what we've heard Mark Zuckerberg claim was going on with the Russian disinformation as it relates to what he was being told from the FBI or CIA or both, the leadership on the Democratic side of the government. And, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ironically, as I scroll down, you see the corruption we've seen in the media. This is represented as Doge, you are here. And then the corruption we haven't even seen yet. So this is completely insane. And I even believe, let me scroll down a little bit more, because I thought I saw that the BBC was also being funded by USAID to an extent. I don't have that one in front of me, so I could be wrong.
I can fact check that real quick.
Okay. But regardless, wouldn't surprise me. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to find out that, Politico, BBC, aren't the only ones, right? It's pretty obvious who, over the years, you're like, who wrote the story? And then how the story was leaning, right? If it was the New York Times, it's left leaning. If it's New York Post, it might be a little bit more partial to the right. You know what I mean? Just so many of them across the board. I haven't been digging deep into the news as much as I was last year with reading actual articles. So, but I can tell you, some of them are just straight up left all the time, and some of them aren't. I mean, Yahoo News, they're left all the time, impartial.
Well, I have a group of things I want to say on this. First of all,
please.
I actually even brought this up before we got the USAID drop on all of their funding, which is that closed circle propaganda loop, right? With intel agencies working alongside news companies to keep narratives in a specific fashion, narrative building, whether that's on the upfront side or the back end side, whether it's to uplift a certain story or shut down a certain story. House Leotardo put in a great thread as well. In addition to that, in Discord, someone going a greater length to explain it. But this is an idea that Jeffrey Sachs has been very open about as well. It's one of the things he highlights pretty often, in particular, because he's someone who doesn't have a particular side he sits on. So he gets attacked by a lot of people, particularly on his views regarding stuff as well as the Middle East. But first thing I do want to say is this is an example of, obviously, the government funding specific opinion and opinion building, narrative building. Politico being the largest receiver of it. I think now what we've seen in the recent reports, Politico has 32 million total in funding. New York Times has been now reported to have 3.1 or 3.2 million funding, and BBC also received about 3 million funding as well. I think BBC, as a few hours ago, also started laying off a bunch of staff who are related to USAID. But this speaks to the reality, which is why most of you guys are here listening to us instead of to somewhere like Fox News as well. The mainstream media establishment has destroyed itself to a degree that it's lost almost all of its credibility. It's not going to get it back. It probably never will. There will probably be a lot of newer, smaller channels that rise from the ashes and become to take its place. The second thing I do want to say too is a lot of the reason why it's hard to trust, a good amount of people as well too. NewsGuard ratings was also a very big proponent of all three of those companies, all three of
yeah.
those organizations. And NewsGuard is the one who's highlighting themselves as being like, well, we're the experts and we do these ratings and reports on these companies, so we'll let you know how honest they are. So even when you get these supposed third-party companies that come in, they're still backing all of the ones that are clearly getting paid by the government, that have all of this money exchanging hands. NewsGuard has done promotion for Politico in the past in particular as well. If you go to NewsGuard's actual X page as well, they probably deleted a lot too, but there's screenshots of NewsGuard being like, hey, look at this Politico article about this one thing over here. It's like, oh, it's clear as day to see that. But
It's
they give
redirecting through its fact check process kind of type of thing.
Yeah, well, it's a mixture. It's like seven or eight different tenets. I think a big portion of that, their metric is how much of this news is opinion versus actual factual reporting. How much of this is what you had just said, which is like the fact checking issues. How often are they actually proven to be wrong on something? And so there's a bunch of different tenets they follow. But they'll give Breitbart and they'll give Daily Wire, who I don't agree with all the time, like 50% ratings, but Politico has like a 97.5 or like a 98.5. New York Times is like high 90s. But everybody knows like these are the intel agencies, Project Mockingbird, if you will, Mockingbird.
And then they reference each other in the like fact checking when it's really all coming from the same echo chamber. They look,
Well,
sourced over here, it's sourced over there, so it's got to be true.
I mean, you got Nancy Pelosi on video telling you how they run these scam news things where they leak it out to a newspaper, and they go back and say, well, it's here in the news, to do that. So I got to drop out, y'all. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining
kinda
us.
Nodding off a little bit there.
You're okay, man. Go get yourself some rest. I know you got to get up early and do your stream. Everybody check out Chris Stockham on YouTube. He has his own channel. He also has a Discord, all that good stuff. Appreciate you for stopping in there, Chris. Have a good night.
All right. Hey, peace.
Take care, brother.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Later.
peace.
Yeah, man. All right. So that was Chris. Like I said, make sure you guys check him out when we're done. Also, on a side note, when we're done with this live, in about 10 minutes after we end the show, I will be putting out another one of my daily videos. Just so busy today, couldn't get it done. Didn't want to drop it during the show. So it'll be coming out. Be on the lookout for that. It's a good one. It's I don't want to spoil it, but it's a good one. I'm enjoying watching the red pilling of Jillian Michaels, who is a Hollywood, LA lesbian who is kind of waking up here, and she's
Is she actually lesbian?
Yeah. I looked up her history today just to be sure. She actually got married in 2021.
Like calling her exes, like, so she really did that to you?
Well, according to the Googles, she got married in 2021. She recently, I think it was last year, moved out of LA down to Miami. And I did a video a while back of her having a conversation with Anna Kasparian, and Anna Kasparian was kind of talking about how her experiences where she was like sexually assaulted, and how open DEI, government, Democrat government, issues basically are kind of leading Anna Kasparian to waking up a little bit and seeing the light. Not that I think that she's ever going to be a Republican, but I think that kind of started Jillian Michaels' journey. I've seen her a couple other times since then. She took a deep dive onto the whole Tulsi Gabbard situation, because people want to call her a Russian asset, and now she wholeheartedly defends Tulsi Gabbard as not a Russian asset. And I get it, she's Tulsi's more on the Democrat side of things, but she's been an interesting person to watch in her transition to kind of just being more of a free thinker and breaking out of the '90s Democrat way of live and let live type of stuff. So,
Right.
anyways, it's a good one. She has a debate with a woman from Fox 5 or whatever, the 5 or something like that, and I'll just leave it at that. So be on the lookout for that. Sorry, a little shameless self promotion. Need to get my daily videos going again though. So,
So
be
I
on the
thought the
lookout.
video you said you're going to post was the one about the 10 reasons why I love Israel.
Well, that one's coming out tomorrow.
You said channel's not doing well. I got to make some money.
At this
No,
point,
but in the Discord, all videos from our channels should be getting notified in there too. So if you want a direct link and then see the order of operations there,
yeah,
just click it on that slide. Tell it to
definitely, guys.
YouTube or
Join
stream
the Discord.
announcements. Forgive me, stream announcements.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. I missed a lot in chat. I don't want to ignore you guys. I apologize. Bid Stiller got $4 million from USAID for his photo op with Zelensky. That's crazy. I tried to watch part of that Zelensky interview on Piers Morgan the other day. I think he put it out yesterday, and it's one of Piers's worst performing videos. Partially, I think. Well, actually, the quality of it doesn't matter because you don't realize how bad the translator is until you click on the video. But it's just interesting. Pierce usually 800,000 to 2 million views pretty much every video he puts out, and this one was at like 300,000. Nobody is interested in anything that Zelensky has to say. That's I thought it was a really good measuring stick just to see how many clicks he got on that one. I was like, oh wow, so maybe I shouldn't. I was gonna make a video on it, and then I'm like, nobody wants to watch it on Pierce's channel. You want to watch it on my channel.
You know, it was super bad timing because not only did on that specific issue, the Ukraine-Russia stuff, Tucker bodied Piers Morgan. I mean, he got bodied.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You haven't seen that? So Tucker goes full length on like, so what is a dictator then, Piers? And then Piers names off dictator, and then Tucker names off, well, Zelensky's actually done all of these things. And then Piers is like, well, yeah, well, actually, you know, I do think all this. And so it's kind of like that argument there. They have it for quite a good bit. Some of it's semantic though, but he gets bodied on that. And then you imagine, you know, a week later, 2 weeks later, you're like, and here's me having Zelensky on. It's like, okay, dude, you're clearly. And it's funny because Tucker has Putin on, and then you have Piers having Zelensky on. So they're clearly on both sides of the aisle there. But obviously, Piers Morgan is like, well, Zelensky's such a courageous person. Where
Well,
Tucker's
Pierce is
more so
in the
like,
bag for Zelensky winning this war.
well, Zelensky just said he was open to peace talks like 2 days ago. So it's like bad timing, like overall and everything.
Right. Jay, have a good night, man. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you, bud. Appreciate your insights into the your experience over there in Iraq as well. But let's see here. I would have done a photo op for a cheap 1.5 million. Look at the money they could have saved. That's pretty funny. I was gonna say too, man, I was just gonna mention I gotta watch that video. That Tucker one. Sounds awesome.
Well, that one, and then the Candace Owens one about Brigitte Macron. I've been saving all of those little posts to read up on. It's like the one I keep pushing in the back. But what you'll notice though is since she started hardcore pushing for it and bringing in other people to bring in facts, other reporters, no one else is covering it. Not seeing a major story because you would expect that I would see some large thing from like Tim Pool who's like, is Candace Owens really pushing this bad story again? Like how obsessed is Candace? No, entirely dropped. Like no one's saying a word now. So that has me very curious to see what she's saying in there and just how obvious it might be that there is a trans partnership in French politics.
Pun. For those of you guys that don't know, Candace Owens believes that Brigitte Macron is a transgender. But let's see here. We'll go back into this here. Elon Musk reposted this from End Wokeness that says, "Holy S." The FBI just revealed that 5,000 out of their 13,000 agents were focused on January 6th protesters. That's 39% of the entire bureau for this.
We just saw people right through. There they are.
And our what looks
in
like
Statuary Hall. Now that is.
Hey, that's the same velvet ropes I saw Speaker Mike Johnson walk through. By the way, that's the same room I was
You get
in.
arrested for crimes against this country.
But the velvet ropes didn't go from doorway to doorway. There was only like 3 of them kind of in the middle of the room, like indicating a path. But anyways.
This is the area
is that
by
the Walt
which,
Whitman camera that's capturing those, I believe?
No,
Whitman statue?
I'm not sure whether that's the Walt Whitman camera, but what that is the area where the senators process to go into House for joint sessions. So it is through there that they walk.
Unbelievable.
Every time they go into the office.
We are
Guys,
televising the breach.
Listen,
by the way.
in order to get to the Capitol, I mean, the Capitol is a free place to go. You are allowed to go to the Capitol, but you got to go through metal detectors. You got to go through security, and when you breach that, you haven't gone through security, and you got to imagine that is making a lot of the Capitol Police and other folks inside the Capitol right now very, very uncomfortable. And
How does she know they didn't go through the metal detectors? They're walking within the velvet ropes. She can't say that. That's fake news. She's gonna need a verified source.
What do they say? It's like 39%, 40% of all of those officials were dedicated to ensuring that they were prioritizing and probably holistically 100% focusing on events that happened at J6. Meanwhile, how many millions of people are flooding this country, all this other illegal stuff going on. We're
Right.
seeing all this stuff with US aid, which could probably be drudged up on different charges, whether it was seditious outright or other things like that nature too. It just goes to show you, and I think this is what I said about it when I saw this in the Discord too. My first thought goes to what happened to the generation of men who are like a little bit older than me. Most of you don't realize I'm the non-boomer here. I'm like just about to turn 30. No, I'm just messing with you. But I'm a bit younger. So when I do see men who are like in their 50s, late 40s, who hold these positions, who work for Border Patrol, the FBI, the CIA, and all they do is lick boots as hard as they possibly humanly can. It really draws my ire of what makes a man so
Bitch-made?
hollow of morals. Yeah, inhumane, so robotic, so NPC, so the only thing I live for is the paycheck I get from this place. So unable to determine like their actions of which that may possibly be morally unjustified or could outright be considered just evil. You're carrying out evil acts against other people, violating their rights, doing things that you're acting as at the fingertips of an evil entity. And it's so different from anything you've ever read, right? You read books from old times, you read The Lord of the Rings, you see Hollywood back in the day. Any literature outside of this time period speaks outside of that, where men ultimately cared most specifically about their honor, their integrity, their mission, their beliefs, what they wanted for their vision for themselves and for their community and their country. And now we get to these positions where like I'm too afraid, like I might lose my job, so let me go ahead and transport kids to New York. Oh, I'm going to lose my job. Let me go hunt down this grandma who lives in Alaska and rip her off a plane.
Right.
I just that stuff I don't ever get, and that drives a bit of my aggressive nature towards other men when I know and I can sniff that out, and I'm like, oh, you stand for nothing. Like I
Especially
despise
when
you.
these people are paid so well and have are granted so much like authority, right? And then they use none of it and then they hide behind I was just doing my job. It's shameful.
Right.
He says straight up
Like,
bitch made.
Well, it's just if you can't like, you're literal. You work for like the CIA, dude. Like what? No one else is hiring. Like you can't get a job. Like hey, I work for the CIA. Like is that not good enough somewhere? It's just it's just an excuse. It's just to say I did what was more convenient. Right? Like I did what was easier. I couldn't even be bothered enough to lift a finger, let alone even just walk away from something. So it's sad.
Right. So moving on here, we have this. What was it? It's a post from Elon Musk of the new press secretary, and this is just more along the same lines of what we're talking about here. And then I have a meme to share with you guys.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric. If you heard that type of...
And that was her obviously responding to the Democrats that are out here opposing Doge, doing anything that they can. They're all making a giant spectacle of it. And what were you going to say?
Well, more specifically, what she's referring to, which I forgot to add, because it is a bit bigger of a story. It's just not with everything else going on. There was people who doxed a lot of the engineers and individual people underneath that work for Doge. It was going viral on Reddit. I saw some screenshots as well. People were passing around their address and such to go and obviously inflict violence upon those different individuals. What I will say is, I have to say it, which is when other people who have different opinions and viewpoints from Elon Musk get doxxed, those posts remain online for 48 hours at a time and can accumulate 30 million views. When it happened to this, I think it was like one specific engineer it happened to that was very public. He responded to the tweet within like an hour and then said, "You're guilty of a crime. The account's gone," and we hear all this rhetoric happening to it. But ultimately, when this happened on X and was as just as big of an event, the person did have threats on his life at home and was ultimately ended up getting charged for defending himself. So there's a bit of a give and take there, where if you're going to be morally inclined to be against this, you have to be against it holistically, not just when it is your people getting doxxed.
True. You guys are cracking me up in chat, by the way, on both chats. But I saw this meme the other day. We must stop Elon Musk from exposing government corruption. It's all the government essentially with their torches.
Yep.
It's hilarious. That one got me the other day. Couple last things before we wrap up. Mitch McConnell. Let's pull this one up here. Mitch McConnell actually had a bad fall today. Mitch McConnell falls down the Senate stairs, raises health concerns. On February 5th, 2025, U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell, age 82, experienced a fall down the Senate stairs, resulting in injuries, including a sprained wrist and a cut on his face. The incident marks at least his second fall in recent months, highlighting ongoing concerns about his health. Following the fall, McConnell was assisted by medical staff and is currently using a wheelchair for mobility within the Capitol. Reminds me of just this last year, Nancy Pelosi fell down and broke her hip when she was over in England or something like that. Dave Portnoy said he fell up the stairs. I think this is actually a different situation, but these folks are too old. You know what I mean? Laura Loomer breaking Mitch McConnell, 82, just fell down the Senate stairs. He is injured.
You ever seen those clips of like those really bad like Indian movies? And it's like the guy's like falling, and someone like looks, and it's clearly like they have way more time. Like the person should have fell by then. Well, like Mitch McConnell, like he fell so slow there. Like you have enough time to like look away and come back, and he's not on the ground yet.
Right? It's like, how did gravity slow down for that? Benny Johnson,
you bent gravity, man.
Right. Benny Johnson says time to retire. Mitch McConnell is now, Nick Sorter just did. Mitch McConnell is now being carted around in a wheelchair after falling twice today. Congress is a freaking nursing home. Exactly. It's these people need to just go and get. Chris said they need to decorate his wheelchair like the turtle van from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, that's funny. If you guys are trying to send a link in the chat, I do have links blocked just because I don't want somebody clicking on a bad link from a malicious individual. So I did turn off links. If you guys want to share it in the Discord, you're more than free. But yeah, it's kind of a little protection there on the YouTube channel. Sorry, guys.
Yep.
You never want those
Man,
crypto
this might
people
get
coming in,
cornered.
or I get people begging for money from like Somalia and stuff, and I got to delete those chats real fast whenever I notice them. A lot of times, sometimes I don't have time to actually. I don't have time to actually vet everything, but yeah, you can post it in Discord, guys. Sorry, okay, totally derailed what I was saying, but
no,
not
you're
your
good.
guys' fault. I just want you guys to know that it won't work.
Elmo, check the description of World's video.
I'm not sure what link you're actually looking for.
For the Discord.
Oh, I think Evil Elmo is in the Discord. I thought I saw that he was in there, but maybe I'm wrong. I know I got him on X. And maybe I've seen him in Chris's Discord.
If not, just come to my channel. The link to the Discord's in my description on my video.
Yeah, you can post the link to Discord in the Discord in the community chat room is where we typically do most of our chatting. Let's see. Oh, I guess maybe you're not in there. I thought you were. Anyways, let's see. Where was I at? So yeah, Mitch fell down the stairs. These people need to retire before they get to this point. I mean, don't they have any shame? I mean, really?
No shame. It needs to be at least like 72. Like I think that's probably where I'd mark the limit. Maybe even 70 is far out I would push it.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you know, Biden falling off bikes, falling upstairs. They're all on the Democrat side, ironically as well. You just got to hold on to that power hungry mofos, man.
Right.
And then our last story, I think this is the last topic, right? Oh no, Trump is being impeached as well. We'll briefly touch on that. There's not a whole lot to these stories other than just letting you guys know what's going on. But thanks, Chris. Appreciate you doing that.
Yes,
yeah, I'm
sir.
in Chris's Discord. I don't know if TNT is, but AG Pam Bondi halts funding to sanctuary cities. On her first day as Attorney General, Pam Bondi has directed the Department of Justice to halt all federal funding to sanctuary cities. This move aligns with her broader directives, including fighting the weaponization of the justice system, addressing cartels, and reviewing cases against President Donald Trump. This policy change aims to enforce immigration laws more stringently affecting over 200 sanctuary jurisdictions across the U.S. If this doesn't work, I say cut off federal funding to the sanctuary states. You know what I mean? Not just the cities, right? Just if you punish the governors for it. Don't just punish
You're
the
all going back.
Yeah, exactly. And then Cat Turd said, "Oh my goodness, let's freaking go." This is huge. And this is, I mean, Trump's cabinet is getting stuff done on day one, and I love it. These people are eager and ready to work. And so far, so good with Pam Bondi. You know, I don't know if you know, well, the original big ask from Trump essentially was
Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz, yeah, thank you. And he backed out, Gaetz did, so that they could get stuff done from the get-go. And it's nice to see Pam Bondi deliver from the get-go, right? Tix Bomber said, "Sup, Pam, how you doing?" In a Joey voice, right? Boomer. But,
you said it, not me.
So yeah, I mean, we have multiple reports. Pam Bondi just ordered the Justice Department to freeze all funding for sanctuary cities that instructed attorneys to begin prosecuting officials preventing ICE from doing their job. So it begins. Let's freaking go. big time. I love it. This is something that I called for. Something that we've called for on this channel is we need to cut the federal funding to these sanctuary cities. It was something that Trump floated the first time around. I don't think he actually could get it done because he was so heavily opposed by Republicans and Democrats alike. And he actually has, I mean, even the last AG for Donald Trump, what was his name? Trump ended up making fun of him a couple times. It was really funny. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. House.
Can't make a house call.
Okay, thanks, Evil Elmo. Appreciate you for doing that. And TNT is in the Discord. Let's see here. Order DOJ to start prosecuting people who are obstructing ICE. It's awesome. 220 sanctuary cities. But yeah, it's what we called for, and love seeing it. Love seeing it. And TNT mentioned that she's 59. It's pretty awesome. I guess it's the wonders of Botox. I don't know. I won't put that evil out there on her.
Yeah, well, I think the next move they should make is federal crime, 15 years in prison if you don't speak English.
Thanks, House Bill Barr. House to the rescue. Yeah, he wasn't willing to work with Trump hardly at all. Almost openly kind of defied Trump. Let's see here. Let's hear. This is Pam Bondi herself.
These criminals made one very big mistake. They wound up in Polk County. And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you. The DEA is going to help
Grady
him.
Judd is legit, by the way.
And my statewide
That's that sheriff right there.
prosecutors are going to lock you
badass.
up for as long as we can.
He did an interview with Patrick Bet David a little while back that's actually worth watching.
Like, I'm not like that's just, to me, it's just not intimidating. That was like too prepared to like okay. Like, good, I'm glad, but like you don't have to do the whole girl boss thing though.
Okay, Pam Bondi's first words. Thank you, President Trump. I've known you for many years. I will not let you down. I'm truly honored. That must have been her first words there after being approved. I'm not sure, but the vote for Cash on Cash's confirmation and RFK Jr.'s confirmation has to be coming up soon. Looking forward to seeing those as well.
Yeah.
House said they only deported 700 people the last 2 days. Yeah, that's a bummer. That's not going to cut it. Tix Bomber says, I love Grady Judd. Dude has no F's to give. 100%. He's like, if you mess up, we'll just fill you full of lead. Like, I can't remember the phrase that he said on Patrick Bet David's show, but it was just like, damn. It was like,
yeah,
rock on, dude. Let's see here. Yeah, some of the stuff they spend money on is crazy. That's for sure, Evil Elmo. And then finally, let's look here at this Congressman Al Green from Texas has announced his intent to file articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump, citing dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done in reference to Trump's proposal for the U.S. to take over the Gaza Strip. This announcement follows global reactions where nations like Russia and the Taliban, along with Palestinian leaders, have rejected Trump's plan. The proposal has sparked controversy and has been described by some as a move towards ethnic cleansing, leading to calls for impeachment. Of course, when Joe Biden does one of his yearly speeches with a red backdrop and calls half of the country, what did he call us? Trump supporters, all Nazis, or I can't remember what the actual word was that he used. That's just fine. I mean, criminal
charged.
Threats against the United States citizens directly from the president. That floats just fine. But if it's Trump on a big ask, saying something on a stage. Oh, I didn't impeach him. I mean, didn't take the Democrats long to get back to their true form, which is oppose Trump with any and every bit of opportunity that you think you can, which this time I don't think is going to be nearly as welcome by the public. I mean, look, Trump has gotten like almost 150 million votes in these last two elections, in the one that he lost and then the one that he won. It's very clear to me
did he lose one?
Well, yeah, that's technically right. But the point being that the American populace is with Trump. It's anti-Democrat right now. People like Jillian Michaels are a prime example of it. Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, all of these people who were on the left. Donald Trump himself, right? Find God, love freedom of speech, and leave the left. They love safety. They leave the left. So let's hear what old Al Green has to say, and he better not sing me a love song.
And still I rise, Mr. Speaker. And I rise today, Mr. Speaker, with a to whom it may concern message. To whom it may concern, ethnic cleansing in Gaza is not a joke, especially when it emanates from the President of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, when he has the ability to perfect what he says. Ethnic cleansing in Gaza is no joke, and the Prime Minister of Israel should be ashamed, knowing the history of his people, to stand there and allow such things to be said.
You mad, bro?
Well, I gotta say, a broken clock can be erased twice a day. It can be right twice a day.
Has been a crime against humanity. And I stand here today in the well to denounce what was said, to denounce what the president said, to denounce the complicity of the Prime Minister of Israel, and to remind people that Dr. King was right. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And injustice in Gaza is a threat to justice in the United States of America.
It is?
I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. I also rise to say that the impeachment movement is going to be a grass-up movement, not a top-down. The people have got to move forward. The people have to demand it. And when the people demand it, it will be done. I did it before. I laid the foundation for impeachment, and it was done. Nobody knows more about it than I. And I know that it's time for us to lay the foundation again. On some issues, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. On this issue, I stand alone, but I stand for justice. I yield back the balance of my time.
It is 2 seconds. I don't know how long it was, but I thought the funniest part about that was the movement to impeach Donald Trump has begun. You mean like 6 years ago? It first began? I think it actually began like 8 years ago on Trump's inauguration day when they announced when he was announced inaugurated the first time. They announced now the impeachment trials begin. It was like the day he was inaugurated. Just so funny. And I wanted to say thanks to my buddy Jay Weber for stopping in, dude. This guy was in my wedding. He's one of my friends. So I appreciate you for being here, bud. That's cool. And it was a nice little comment there. Missed the opportunity to wear. I feel like he missed the opportunity to wear a bolo tie.
Well, this could have a great ending. Like Trump comes out of the ceiling, he takes that guy's tie, or not tie, his cane, starts beating him with it. It's like this is how we do democracy here. Get out of my country.
Challenge you to
WWE ending to the story.
Gromit says, I can't wait to vote for Trump a fourth time in 2028. Dastardly deeds done dirt cheap. That's right. TNT knows all about it. But yeah, pretty shameful pretty shameful that these Democrats are so freaking tone deaf that they just don't even get it that they're on the wrong side of history right now. I mean, and I'm all for it, to be honest with you. I've mentioned this in my daily videos. I've mentioned this in the lives before. The more the left just digs their heels on these fringe ideologies and regurgitates old tactics like trying to impeach Donald Trump, it's just going to make it worse for them in 2028 and in the midterms coming up in a couple years. What in their mind is telling them that continuing this losing path? I mean, they spent $1.3 billion in 3 months trying to get Kamala Harris elected this year, and it completely failed, right? Trump won in a landslide. I said landslide. Is there such thing?
They're not very smart people. So.
But, I'm for it. I'm all for it. Jay, Weber says Barron will be the next President Trump. Yeah, I mean, he could be. I think we need. Yeah, he's going to be King Barron. Haven't you seen the book? No, but there's a bit of a gap that we need before he's old enough to actually run. But I wouldn't be surprised. And we were talking about this in the Discord. I think it was in the Discord. That who will be the next person? Like, can JD Vance carry the weight for Trump in like a 2028 election over those next 4 to 8 years? And it's just almost, to me, it's just like even JD has these question marks, and I get it. He was pushed heavily by Don Jr. to be Trump's running mate. But I kind of think we just need another Trump. I don't know if it's Don Jr. It probably would be. I'd be more prone to think Eric Trump, but I don't know.
Eyeliner.
I just think you might just have to stay in the Trump family. I don't know if we can trust anybody else right now, and bridge that gap to Barron, who's going to just strike fear into the Democrat Party for the next 12 years or however long. I still wish they would say what Barron said to Joe Biden on Inauguration Day. It looked kind of like he clowned him a little bit in a little walk by clowning. But Ivanka, maybe Ivanka, she backed out, kind of backed away from the politics stuff. I think she wanted to just be left alone and design clothes.
If Ivanka ran, I would single-handedly quit my job and focus every ounce of my willpower to boxing her out of politics.
Atlas does not want a woman president, that's for sure.
No, well, it'll be an outsider, I bet. That's what we'll need. Hopefully, we can get an outsider to come in.
Yeah,
Sam Hyde, 2028.
He's a good kid. He told him which way to leave the room. Yeah. I think I showed it a couple shows back, or maybe we didn't. But the meme of Barron walking into the White House and he's like, the Trump and his wife, I can't think of her name right now for some reason, are right in front of him, and they're like knee high to Barron.
I like the one where Trump's like Godzilla, and it's like the helicopter flying outside of the White House, and he's like literally like 110 feet tall. That one's hilarious.
That one, yeah. The one we played that was Seamus from Seamus's Freedom Tunes. That one was good. We got copyright struck on that song, by the way. We played that clip.
Yeah, don't play any Mexican anthems either.
Yeah, we got copyright clipped on the very last clip that I played a few shows ago, where it was the improvisation of Ice, and the guy was telling him, say this word, say that word, and at the end he said Walmart instead of Walmart, and then they struck us for that one. Doesn't hurt the channel, but it's just, God, some of these people. Right. Ivanka was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding and hangs out with Soros Jr. Yeah, I'm not a big Ivanka fan as far as being in the political leadership realm. TNT said, I think he said my Coke's better than Hunter's. That's funny. When I went to DC, they have this like replica White House kind of thing set up like across the street and down a block. It's called the People's House. and they have a mock oval office where you can sit at the desk and take your pictures and stuff. And there's a guy in there answering any of your questions. And I asked him about the Diet Coke button, and he basically showed us like it's a little box that's not like installed in the desk. It's like a remote box. You can pick it up and take it with you, and they can program it to mean whatever they want it to mean. I thought it was pretty cool to see.
No, that is cool. I like the all miniature stuff, the big displays of massive areas.
Yeah. Six Bomber said, I like the lip reading one where Barron tells Biden it's on and Melania tells him to be nice. That one's a good meme. I thought he told him to don't forget to pardon himself. I don't know what he said. That would be nice to actually know what he said, but
It starts with an F and ends in a T, and he didn't call him fat.
But yeah, we don't have any one-offs or anything like that. Just Me shared something funny in the Discord that I was going to play, but it had music in the background, so I got to run that one through the filter, and we'll probably play it on Saturday. And then, but other than that, just want to remind folks to join the Discord. The link is in the description. If you're watching over on X, make sure you repost. Give me a follow. I'll follow you back. Most of the time, like I said, if you got at least decent content that you repost or post originally stuff, I'll follow you back. But if you're it's just a bunch of crypto or something dumb, then I'm not going to follow you back. But but that's to be expected. Okay, gotta at least be doing something. But let's see. Your grandma said, "Ain't it funny? A month ago, the Dems were screaming, we can't let the government shut down during the budget fight, and now they're wanting the government." wanting the government shut down to stop any audits, right? It's full hypocritical, right? They're all looking out for their own skin. That's why they fought so hard to oppose Donald Trump in the first place, is they're all scared shitless, and for good reason. Look what Pam Bondi's doing. Look what Trump has been able to get accomplished in these first couple weeks. It's been it's been a torrential rate. Torrential pace. Like I think Donald Trump's probably slept like 6 hours since he was inaugurated. The dude is just a machine. And, with the exception of this whole Gaza weird thing, which we did touch on, that there was some breaking news that he kind of separated, and they clarified that he didn't mean boots on the ground and some of that stuff. So we can kind of ramp down those projections a little bit, but he's been killing it so far, I think at least. And the funniest part, not the funniest part, but a funny thing to add, a funny note to add, is that as soon as Trump was in, he's handling the media so much better, first of all, and than he did the first time around. And I think it's funny to watch the media, how they responded to Joe Biden in his press conferences when he had them, right? Or when his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, would come out and talk. It's like literally only Peter Doocy that was challenging her. And I don't even think Biden would call on Peter Doocy in any of those type of press conferences. But now the left media is back to trying to challenge the president and hold him to this high standard and all this stuff now that it's Trump. And it's like, where have you guys been for the last 4 years? You think we're actually going to take you serious now? Like, you've lost so much clout in the process that you've gone through, that you've led us through yourselves. You've done it to yourselves. You've literally shot yourself in the foot to the point where nobody takes you seriously as journalists. Nobody takes your ideas seriously. And it just makes it so much easier for Trump to handle these people. That, in addition to, he's progressed. He's mastered the art of dealing with these people. I thought it was great watching him when he was sitting there signing those executive orders the first day, just entertaining questions and even the rapid fire coming from some of these people. And it's just like no sweat off his back. He was just working, having a conversation. And it's like, these people are trying so hard and it just has no effect. It lands upon deaf ears. Unfortunately, there is a big cult across this country that still buys it hook, line, and sinker. But, those people they're getting corrected much more than they were before, because dissenting voices, which is actually the populace nowadays, are are checking them, and they're not being canceled for saying it. You know what I mean? They're maintaining their accounts. Granted, you know, some people are. You say something about Elon Musk, you're going to lose your blue check. But we love Elon around here.
Yeah, be positive. No, I was going to say one of the funniest things to come out of that was when Trump had that meme of Trump holding up one of his executive orders, but on it says gays are no longer allowed to use that voice anymore. Like everyone knows what they're talking about when gay men use that specific, like very gay tone voice. I thought that was hilarious. One of the best memes to come out of it.
It is funny. So yeah, with that, just want to remind people, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channels. If you're watching on my channel, America First TV, please do stop in over at Atlas Thugged on YouTube. Give him a subscribe, a like, all that good stuff as well. He's super close to 1,000 subscribers. We really need to get him over that 1,000 subscriber mark, like ASAP. So make sure you guys do us that simple favor. And like I said, follow on X, all that good stuff. Make sure you hit the like on Rumble. Subscribe over there on Rumble as well. We do need to build up the alternate platforms just in case. And so if you have a Rumble account, we do broadcast over there at the same time as well, every show. And I don't talk about that much because YouTube is my primary platform, and they don't like it when you talk about Rumble. So just like any platform, they don't like it when you're sending people to the other place. But, you know, you guys know how it goes, right? You guys know how it is. So anyways, appreciate all that. And what's your final thoughts? And then we'll check out of here.
No final thoughts. Ultimately just, I mean, really more so just hoping we see the Trump that we voted for, the aura of Trump that we voted for,
right.
Less so this kind of financially chained version of him. A lot is getting done, but my main thing is really the vision of moving forward, the vision I have for the future. Sure, we're going to get good things from this Trump presidency, but I'm looking beyond that. I'm looking towards, can we garner the momentum of what we got here and pair that with the dissident right and eliminate the influence from the establishment right, the Con Inc. group, wipe them off the board completely, maybe even possibly maneuver into a different party, shadow the right wing. I would do a lot of things just to continue that group, the group that's forming, that is whatever you want to give it to, the new right, the dissident right. That's what I hope we get out of this. Namely, it looks like the pushback against Trump was enough that they kind of had to give that statement out hours later after the fact, less than 24 hours. But overall, the world's watching us, and I hope at least we can continue to do things that inspire men to be men. We can continue on this path that gets women out of the front lines, puts women back in the not in the workplace, but out of the workforce, back into places such as raising children, moving to things where single income households can be meaningful again, make the family much more wonderful. All of those kind of end goals, moving away from that kind of reactionary politics again, just like, there's no reason for anybody left wing to be in power right now. Get them out of there. Sure, they have their say in Congress, but we have the full control over a lot of different cabinet positions. We should be the ones wielding that power for the right things, and I hope it snowballs into a better effect. I will say in response, Tech City's going to start shit posting his furry pics in the Discord. I'm about to go manually change your profile picture to a furry here in a couple of seconds, so be ready for that. But I just want to say too, everybody who is here, we appreciate the engagement. You guys drive the show very much.
Yes.
Just thanks for being here.
Yes,
Christ is king as always.
Definitely. And Casey, if you're still here, thank you for that super chat. All that good stuff. So anyways, yes, to echo you, Christ is king. We will see you guys on Saturday. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time, the eve of the Chiefs 3-peat that will be happening on Sunday.
Nope. Nope. You know that scene in the Batman, what's the Batman with Bane in it? I think the third one.
The Dark Knight. I'm not sure. You know, honestly, I watched the Dark Knight and then I didn't watch the other two.
Really? So it's the third one that Tom Hardy plays Bane in it. And the opening scene is like the Pittsburgh Steelers playing somebody with like the stadium's like all falling apart.
Oh,
it's like a crazy cool scene. You got to look it up. It's really good. I hope that happens on the Super Bowl. I hope nobody wins. I hope it ends. Nobody won this year, guys.
You guys can't be rooting for the Eagles. Philly fan is the worst. Did you see how they stole that guy's hat the other day after they beat Washington?
No, they are awful fans. Philadelphia has an awful fan base, but I can't root for referees though.
Well, then you were rooting for the Chiefs against the Bills the other day, right?
Listen, that game was wild. That game made me think maybe the NFL is entirely rigged.
Bro, I've been thinking the NFL is rigged ever since Tom Brady demolished Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl and when Tampa played. Pat came out and literally played one of the worst games of his career. My wife was even like, "This shit is fixed. What is going on here? This isn't how Pat plays." And so I don't know. I've been a conspiracy theorist on that one for quite a while, but I mean, heck, I think three of the last four, maybe 4 of the last 5 years, the Super Bowl emblem that they put out the beginning of the year are the 2 teams' colors that have been in the Super Bowl. Last year was the exception. But anyways, with that, you guys, we're checking out. I love football, so it's Super Bowl week. So I had to get my little bit in there. But
right.
Anyways, Christ is King, and we'll see you guys on Saturday.
Take care.
Let's roll, rolling Atlas Dog. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Dog. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Dog, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas Dog, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.